Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mavs Moneyball's group therapy. It has been quite some time since we got together in a sad fashion and needed to talk. However, after a slow progression leading to this seemingly inevitable outcome, the Dallas Mavericks have all but lost Jalen Brunson to the New York Knicks. The Knicks plan to sign him to a 4-year deal in excess of $25 million per season, basically $100 million. So it's like probably a deal that starts at 25 with max raises. So he'll make like 4 for 110 over the course of the deal, something like that. And here we are. Tim Cato just finished publishing within the last half hour a story that according to the people that he talked with, the Mavericks have known for quite some time that Brunson was likely to do this, meaning weeks, so not days. And they've been attempting to put contingency plans in place. I'm very curious as to what all that means. They let the traded player exception expire yesterday. So if they knew and they let that happen, perhaps they couldn't absorb anyone in the deal. It had been widely reported prior to that traded player exception expiring that the Mavericks didn't really have an interest in filling a player with that slot due to the tax implications. But if they didn't think Brunson was re-signing, why wouldn't they be interested in using the traded player exception? There's some things that are crisscrossing here that I don't entirely understand. I'm sure we will find out, or maybe we never will find out what's going on in the coming weeks and days. Bottom line is I think the Mavericks had an ability to match, and I think they have an actual walkaway price. Paying Jalen Brunson in excess of, let's just say, $28 million a year, $30 million a year. I think the max he can actually make is like $30.9 million for the first year of the deal. May simply be too rich to swallow. We've had extensive debates over at MavsMoneyball.com about what this means, with CBA Mavs writing in favor of the, paying Brunson whatever it takes because the Mavericks don't have a means to replace him, to Xavier writing, or as I'm going to start calling him, Xavier Santos. He makes fun of how I pronounce his name. Xavier Santos. My man, everybody loves Xavier. Xavier's basically made the argument of, like, if you sign Brunson, then you're kind of capping the team. And interestingly enough, I had a discussion with Stats Bombs and the mid-range theory author Seth Partnow today about how he tends to agree with that take, that signing Brunson puts a cap. The Mavericks would have, it's not necessarily about Brunson, but how the Mavericks would have just a lot of bad contracts. And if you have bad contracts, so meaning Tim Hardaway, meaning Davis Bertans, and then you have not great ones, so a Jalen Brunson one, even though he's pretty productive, you're just sort of putting a cap on your ceiling. In order to get better players, you end up having to send out draft capital. It's really something because, like Josh correctly points out in the chat, capping the team as opposed to just digging a bottomless hole. I don't, like, at the moment, I don't see a path forward, but I am also not a GM. The Mavericks are in the luxury tax. They are very limited in what they can do. There is a very limited number of taxpayer mid-level exception players that are available. When you see somebody, the Wolves just re-signed someone to Torian Prince, I think, to a 2-year, $16 million deal. It's like when guys like that are making that kind of money, it's like, who's really going to be available to play for the Mavericks? Like this is pretty frustrating at the moment. Now, I'm not going to do the normal doom and gloom scream into the void thing that I've done for years because I don't necessarily think it's productive at the moment. If we get through free agency and things are still pretty bleak, then maybe we can kind of revisit that. I do think the Luka stands among us are correct in the position of if you have Luka, that's sort of, that establishes a solid baseline with the team. But, it says something and it worries me. Luka kicks off his 5-year extension this year, which is really a 4-year extension because the last year's a player option, which really means the Mavericks have 3 seasons to get to, and really like 2.5 seasons until there's going to be like noise and rumors that just start happening. That's the way the NBA works. It is happened and it has happened and will happen again. So the Mavericks have a limited runway in which to figure something out, and maybe we'll see what they can do. Okay, guys, we've got a ton of speaker requests. That's what happens when I run my mouth for so long. So you guys know the drill. Let's come up on stage here, be listening for your name. If you've not come up here before and you want to talk, like please come up. Like I want to hear from people who haven't been in here as often. Coming up first, I see Alex. Welcome, Alex. How are you? Try hitting that unmute button one more time when you're on the main page. Let me know if you need any help there. Otherwise, we'll invite you back up in a second if you can't find the mute button, because sometimes it takes, and sometimes there's a little bit of glitch. Okay, we will bring you back up here in a second. We're going to go to my guy, Jordan. Hey, Jordan, what's up?
Hey, so I'm going to try to channel my inner Dalton Trigg and be positive. If you had told me 8 months ago that the Mavericks were losing Jalen Brunson, but we were getting Jaden Hardy for the offseason, I would have thought, oh, wow, that was a successful move. Because
really? Why?
Because I was really high on Hardy before the G.
Oh.
So he kind of had the year from hell in the G League. So and then Brunson also just wasn't considered this good.
That's true.
And so we hadn't made a Western Conference Finals. We had, there were a lot of information has changed in those 8 months.
I do think he was like just so we're clear and everyone understands my position. I think we were north. Like Brunson was never going to sign an extension, and I think this notion that he's disrespected by them not offering an extension. He was worth more than the extension within the first 20 games of the season. It was very clear, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that I think that's revisionist history that he was going to sign the extension, because I just don't.
Yeah, I don't either. I think it's a leverage. I think it's a leverage point that they're using as an excuse to say this is why he's mad when his father wants him to go to New York, and that's that.
Yeah, and he works for. I mean, there's just so many other different things pushing that way.
Yeah.
I just don't think that there was ever a realistic option for him staying. For him signing that contract.
If you offer him the max. If you offer him the max, I think he's staying.
Yeah, and I don't – part of me thinks that we should have offered him the max, or at least offer him the same deal that the Knicks do, but also add in that 5th year.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's Jalen Brunson. It's not a superstar that we're losing. And I think sometimes because we've been so starved for a second star, I think maybe we've overrated Brunson a little bit. Because
go ahead.
Like a fully realized Jalen Brunson is not a superstar. He doesn't, unless he suddenly starts shooting 7 threes a game.
Right. I can see that.
He's not a superstar. He's a good player. He might be your 3rd best player on a championship team. He's not the 2nd best player, even at his peak. And then I'm trying to look at positives, with Tim coming back, that's basically like a free agent signing. With Wood, we did do a trade there with Wood. I don't think Hardy is going to be here this year, but like fully realized Hardy, like what people thought he could be coming out of high school, that is a 2nd star next to Luka, if he could ever get close to that. Now, there are some severe doubts now about whether he can get there. But someone who could create his own shot, could play a little bit of defense, could do a little bit of passing, and was an elite off-ball shooter, that's perfect next to Luka if that happens.
Sure.
Now, the problem is, does it happen?
Well, your kids are also pissed that Jalen Brunson
They
is
are.
leaving the Mavs. I feel for them. Yeah. Well, you got anything else before we head out?
No, I'll let other people talk, but I'm trying to channel my inner positivity at this moment. I'll be sad after free agency.
I appreciate that. All right, we'll talk soon.
Bye.
I will say that I think that like there's a little bit of a symbiotic relationship here where Brunson might not be like this kind of max player, but the way he worked with the Mavericks made him more valuable to the Mavericks than I think he will be to the Knicks on his own. I don't, from a money perspective, if you can't, if the Mavericks don't want to match the money and Brunson can't realistically walk away from like 1/10 of $1 billion, I don't, it is what it is. But I don't see him working out to the level that he did because like that Knicks offense is not structured to maximize Brunson. He had all sorts of space whenever he was utilizing, whenever he was the guy with the Mavericks. Games, he had like a 35% usage rate. Like that's not happening in New York. I mean, maybe he'll learn and take some more off-ball threes, but I just don't see it. Like he's playing for Thibs and his dad. Anyways, I'm rambling here. All right, let's see who is next. Hey, Seth. Seth Partner, who I mentioned, is hanging out in the chat like a good friend will. Ruben, how you doing, buddy? Ruben, what's up?
I'm not Seth. I didn't know if you meant to bring Seth up or not.
No. He didn't ask to request.
No. Just a couple things. You can't be mad at Jalen at all. I hope nobody's mad at him for making this move.
Nope, I'm not.
If I was a second round draft pick, I know that situation might not be as perfect as I am in now, but if they're offering me what I feel like I can be, I'm going. I'm going to get that 30 mil or close to it. So for the people that I've seen some crazy comments on Twitter, just trashing them. I'm like, Jesus Christ. But I feel like what you were saying, he worked for what the Mavs did. And that kind of Luka gave him a boost, and I feel like the fan base and everybody watching kind of boosted him up like we do Powell and Maxey, like we did, and we found out, hey, they're not really, on another team, they're not starting. I think you said that a million times. But he was good for what he did. But the fact that I keep hearing that, we gotta sign him. We're above the cap. We're in the tax, whatever. I could have sworn. I feel like it's a twilight zone. When KP got here, he was hurt. He didn't even play.
Right.
And people were saying the exact same thing. We gotta give him 30 mil, 40 mil, and just for the asset. And I keep hearing asset. Yeah, at the time, we've seen this before. We give them the money, we get as far as we can in the playoffs, and then what does that asset become? A tarnished asset. We're kind of just like, oh shit, nobody wants KP at this time. Oh shit, JB on a $30 million a year contract. That's not a good asset when it boils down to what I forgot the other guy that just went off. He's not a second superstar. He just worked good for what we did. And what we didn't get us out the finals. I'm sorry. A 6'1" point guard, if he reaches his full potential, I hope I'm not sure if he's going to touch a Dame Lillard type, trajectory, but a 6'1" point guard making $30 million, $8 million less than Luka. It's no way Jalen Brunson is $8 million less than Luka. It's like it's a big gap. I'm sorry.
It would be different if the Mavericks had other deeper pieces. Like the Warriors can afford to go spend $350 million on their roster, whatever the heck it was, because their arena prints money and the Warriors print money, whereas the Mavericks have been comically mismanaged up for a significant portion of the post-championship era. You know,
Right.
and honestly, I talked about this with Seth today. The Mavericks also have really gotten lucky with the things they didn't do.
Right.
I mean, like look at it, 20s. Like my Facebook is always so dark this time of year, where I get these Facebook memories where it's like Mike Conley and Hassan Whiteside. Oh my gosh! Like we're talking doomsday time.
Yes.
So it's like the Mavericks seem to fail up a hell of a lot. And
this is
that's what happened.
Yeah, maybe Nico was like, well, you guys did this before. And I what you said, I think either you or Isaac said it. I felt like, or Nick said it. I feel like Nico had a cap where he was going to stop.
Mark Cuban, it's Mark. Like, I'm sorry, this whole like Nico's gotten control. Everyone,
I hope it was Mark. I hope it was Mark that said, no, I'm not doing this again. I did this with KP. We thought we could get over the mountaintop, and we couldn't. And then we end up having to sit with him and build his stock back up. And we would have had to do the same thing with JB on a 30 to close to.
I don't know if I agree there.
Okay.
It's I think because KP is such an extreme example because he couldn't play. But like at a certain point where you're saying is, you know, I want to say Matthew Phillips on Mavs Moneyball was talking to me about this today. Next year, there's going to be close to 40 players in the league that make at least $30 million this season. That's 1/10 of the league. So the question sort of becomes is, do you feel that Jalen Brunson is a top 50 player?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all, because you said KP couldn't play. JB couldn't play last year in the playoffs.
Yeah, it might have been a little bit of a wreck.
So he proved, he proved 1 year, a couple games in the playoffs this year, and we're just going to hand him $30 million. And again, I'm not mad at JB's asking price, but I'm just glad that even then, I feel like I'm speaking too soon because the Knicks haven't even cleared that much money yet. So that's why I feel like it's a couple more levers that's going to get pulled, and I just hope they're in the Mavs' favor instead of just saying, oh, well, we got to sign him. We got to give him whatever he wants. When you know this player is not a Zach LaVine, he's not a Bradley Beal, he's barely.
Shout out to Bradley Beal stealing $250 million from the Washington Wizards, by the way. Like, if I could get paid $250 million to have no responsibility and be able to demand things like, you guys need to make the team better, I would do that, by the way. That's in a heartbeat.
Right, and I don't even feel like Fred VanVleet, at least he has a ring. He's proved it, and then he got his contract. But we were just going to give JB this contract, and again, it could still happen, but I hope it not at that number. I hope it's, more at I hope he, proves everybody wrong. I really do.
I do too.
I really do.
I don't think he will with the Knicks.
Hey, we can only hope. I'm hoping, and again, I feel like it's a couple more levers still needed to get pulled, and I hope it's a good signing trade. And again, that can also be an asset, like we did KP, and we broke it up in two. It's more flexibility when you can do that instead of just one player making this much money. Who would trade JB for who else is making 30, 35 million next year or something? No other team would do that. It's just I'm just kind of I'm sad and happy at the same time.
Well, Chad is mad at you.
I'm sorry, Chad.
This is great content. This is great stuff.
But no, even and I'll be finished. But even I know because you post these in in the different podcast streamers or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think it was either as soon as we signed Christian Wood or the day after we got put at the finals. I literally, when I was getting off this stage or whatever, I was like, can we flip Brunson for a taller player? So all of our starters can be over 6'4", 6'5", and with length. If we don't have JB, just think about Nico has just looking at the player, and I'll be quick. Just looking at the player he drafted and the way this roster is built now, he likes players that can switch, have length, and can dribble. But the two key factors have length and height. So I feel like he has what he wants this team to look like, and giving $30 million to a 6'1" point guard. I'm sorry. I'm glad he didn't do it. But I'm sorry, chat, but I had to speak
No,
my
it's
mind.
great. I love it. We're all allowed to disagree because none of us get a say anyways. Thanks, Ruben. I appreciate you.
Have a good one.
I want everybody to remember there were over 900 people in here the day we traded KP. Every fucking person was angry that we traded KP. Everyone. There might have been 2 people out of the 50 that we talked to that day that was like okay on him. So we'll see. First, okay, my podcast guest today wants to talk again, and his photo already, he looks disappointed in us. What's up, Seth?
How's it going? I felt bad for Ruben because the chat was killing him so hard.
Well, because everybody's mad we're not getting, like, because what's, like, to me, this is less about Brunson specifically and more about the fact that, like, the Mavericks are probably going to lose Brunson for nothing. Like, that sucks.
So I've been having kind of Brunson arguments on and off basically all day with
the Jalen Brunson wars have pulled you in.
No, they've been for the most part productive discussions. And on some level, like we talked earlier on the Mavs Moneyball pod, and I feel like I didn't quite make the point as well as I could have, that the danger of giving a huge contract to Brunson isn't about him so much, although there is danger there. It's more, this is the chickens coming home to roost on a bunch of guys who are seventh men making, double-digit millions. And that's, if you got clean books, then you feel like, okay, well, we got to keep this guy.
I don't think a lot of our team, and not team, like, people that join this sort of stuff are all lunatics, and I love you. But you go look at the Mavericks books, they pay, they pay a couple of guys for a long time. Davis Bertans gets paid until the next century.
They have $87 million on the books 3 years from now already.
That's terrible. And they're gonna, and you have to, and Seth pointed this out. It's worth saying again.
It's Luka and DFS. Okay, those are good, and then the other two are THJ and Bertans, which is less good.
Yeah.
And that's sort of a microcosm. So it's less about Brunson than it is about all the poor decisions that came before that put you in this spot.
Years and years of it. And it is not like, this is where I hang a lot of this stuff on Cuban, because, your friend or acquaintance, I'm not sure what he is, Geraldo Bulgaris, has said repeatedly on the record that he was not consulted for the KP trade. Like, how do you run a front office this way, where people are just doing stuff willy-nilly? I mean, I heard off the record at one point in time, this like 2 years ago, that Boban was a Cuban signing. Like, what are we doing?
Oh no, like, I've heard that directly. It was like people woke up one morning, we signed Boban.
So, like, that's not how you run a professional basketball team.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I also, again, I want to, and it's. I think that Ruben did, chat's going to kill me now, but I think Ruben did make a good point in that, the lack of the second player next to Luka has elevated him a little bit. And I think, frankly, getting Utah in the first round has done that even more. I mean, you can't engineer a better matchup for him.
Sure.
Good than Utah with Luka out and limited.
Yeah, our man Donovan Mitchell ran an escort service to get Brunson to the rim.
Oh, that is a shocking accusation against Mitchell.
It was like his long 6'9" wingspan was like, this way, sir, open jumper.
Yeah. No. So I don't want to bore your audience with stats, but his true shooting was like 59 against Utah, 53 in the other two playoff series. He had a usage under 22 last year. I mean, that's those barring elite defense and or playmaking. That's not a guy you want to be paying a quarter of the cap.
And he's going to go to a team that will minimize his strengths.
Yeah, it's I think that there's a pretty good chance that as much as this hurts right now, you'll look at what's going on with him at the Knicks 6 months from now and be like, boy, we dodged that one. So it sucks. It sucks to not be able to keep good players, but this is less about this than kind of avoiding, almost compounding the previous mistakes. That's
sure. Well,
if you want to be an optimist about it, that's the way I would take it.
No. I appreciate those thoughts. Do you have anything else you want to pump at us? This is the second time you talked to our guys today.
No, I mean I think that the caller earlier had a nice point about Hardy also. I mean, someone who as far as like reclamation projects of someone with talent, like that's a decent swing. Now that'll be
37, a lot of value there, potential.
Yeah. Now that'll be a couple years, but you're trying to make sure you're, big picture. The thing that matters most is how good are you 2 years from now.
Yep.
Like doing stuff the next 2 years is good, but I don't think this is a title team. And so really the important thing is that third year, are we really good? And then that's the kind of thing that's Luka's like, yes, I'm here. This is awesome.
Yep. Building towards something, whereas LeBron was kind of at his wit's end at the first part of at the end of that his first Cavs run. So, well, thanks, buddy. Appreciate you coming up.
Yeah, no, and Ruben, be strong, man. You make good points.
No, Xavier will come in here and do the same things. Like there's just two camps of people. My favorite is Xavier wrote that the Mavericks should trade for Russell Westbrook as like just total nuclear take. I love it. Anyway, all right, we'll talk soon, buddy.
All right, thanks a lot.
Whoa, even more people in here. All right, I got to let my man Ewan come because he and I normally talk in like the middle of the night when he joins these green Spotify lives. What's up, my man?
Hey, man, it's been a while. What's up?
Oh, just another day in the madhouse.
Yeah, man, it's a madhouse for real. Brunson, man, Brunson. I agree a little bit with Ruben. I mean, I read a lot of the articles early in the season saying that, we can't pretty much afford to lose him for nothing, but, we have to like re-sign him no matter what the cost is. But I kind of feel with the way, the new regime is moving, it's kind of like, okay, we can do that. And going back to the playoffs is like, I know Tim Hardaway Jr. was missing. I don't know how much that may have factored into, the scoring numbers of Brunson, with how many wide open threes our players got and how many shots they missed. Who knew how much of a factor that would have, helped and not accelerated his value so much. But, I mean, we all can speculate on what ifs, but
I love it. I mean, I'm like from a player point of view, like I went through like a full-on fan journey with Brunson. I loathed Brunson almost immediately his first season and a half. And Jonathan Sharks was like, he's like, this dude's going to be better than Dennis Smith. He's like, you watch. And everybody's telling me, like, repeatedly, you can go check all my mentions because I don't really delete tweets. Like, every time I bitched about Brunson, people are like, you're a moron. And then, it was Tyler Adams, friend of mine. Well, he blocked me on Twitter, but anyways, he had told me, he's like, you need to give this guy a chance with Jason Kidd. He's going to do more. And he's talking about this year. And Brunson really came forth this year. He did more, and he was great. And I really came around on him within like the first 10 games because the Mavericks were a train wreck without Brunson the first quarter of the season.
Right. I mean, and as we see, he's a smart player. He's crafty, he's smart, he's a winner. He's very, he picks up on stuff a lot. So it's kind of like, even though me and I want to pay him that money, it's like we're kind of losing a high IQ player on our team compared to the rest of the guys that we have. But, yeah, I mean, I'm rooting for him in New York. I mean, like I said, it's hard for a second-round pick to turn down $100+ million. And
his father was undrafted, too. So it's just like these guys might be NBA, might be an NBA family, but they're also grinders. Like, this is generational wealth that we're talking about.
Yeah, and then if he deep down feels that, he can be that guy for another team and, for whatever reason he feels that Luka is hindering his development and his progression. We already saw that with KP. We already saw the next person feeling that, they're not getting enough. They're not, we don't want to be dealing with that again. So it's kind of like,
sure, if
deep down he don't want to be there, he want to, take the next step and being that guy, don't fight it. Let him go do his thing. Wish him well, but let him go do his thing.
Right.
And honestly, it's like everybody wants to be that guy until it's time to be that guy. I mean, Luka came in and he was, off rip doing his thing. So when I hear people saying like Luka was hindering his growth and stuff like that, it's kind of like when who was stopping Luka rookie year? Like what did Luka do from his rookie year to his second year? he just, he learned, he saw. Everybody has the same opportunity in regards to study and learn and progress. And from what Luka did his rookie year to his sophomore year to from, someone not a lot of people know about to being a superstar, I mean, you can't really say he hinders his growth. If anything, he excelled it because he was getting double teamed since his second year.
Yeah. Well, and we've not been online as a group here. Sorry for my belch. I'm definitely drinking. We've not had a chance to talk about swole Luka. Like,
right. You see how
local man looking like a fucking Instagram model. Just it's like, hey, look. Do you see this? I have curves in my arms and not baby fat. It's incredible.
Yeah, but honestly, hopefully Brunson, if he feels like he's that, that factor to do in New York, because like I said, I live in New York, so I want to see the Knicks do good. And if he's able to do that, then it'll be the buzz in the city will be a lot better. But we know who the alpha dog in Dallas is. We don't want.
Well, there's an underrated aspect. So you're a New York guy. There's an underrated aspect to this I feel isn't discussed. The Mavs had like 35 Knicks players on their team the last several years. All of them really fucking excited to leave the Knicks, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna go there.
Yeah, it's like did he not hear anything about from Bullock and all them guys,
like Frank Ntilikina, who got sent to prison by the coach. Like, it's amazing. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah, I wish him well, but I have trust. I have trust in the front office.
That's true. Okay. I don't blame this front office for this. Like the extension stuff, I've said my piece on that. Like, I don't believe they ever offered it to him because at one point in the year, Tim McMahon said they didn't offer it because they thought it was disrespectful to a player. Like, they didn't want to piss him off. And now he's saying, oh, well, I'm pissed off because I didn't get the extension. Like, I'm calling bullshit on the player side here because he's a guy who would have made $20 million, almost immediately to start the year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like you said, I think that he knew, if anything, at least he would have get the contract that Tim Hardaway Jr. has, at least that amount.
Right.
So yeah, there's no way he was going to take that extension. There's no way.
All right.
All right, man. Appreciate
you.
Be
good. Talk soon. Thanks for hanging out.
Yes, sir.
All right, and guys, we're gonna get to everybody, everyone. Okay, so now we're gonna get someone who is in the why are we not signing Jalen Brunson? We're morons camp, and it is my very good friend Christian. How we doing, guy?
Hey, yeah, I'm not even like super pissed about this. I think I was just kind of going crazy on the JB to KP comparisons and, some of the other stuff. It has been hard, right? Just because I felt I had it felt promising. Like if we got a team of Luka, JB, Reggie, Dorian, Christian Wood as the starting five, with Tim coming back, Spence, Bertans as a shooter, Maxey, and then using the taxpayer Emily. I just thought that we can compete against anybody besides the Clippers. I just think I heard your earlier podcast, and I think you're right. And have you seen Tim McMahon's, I guess, relatively recent article?
I didn't read it. All I saw was his tweet. What are the articles?
So it essentially said that the Mavs are willing to offer a fifth year, but along the Fred VanVleet deal. So basically like 21 per, which is ridiculous. If the Knicks are offering 4 for 100, why in the hell would you take 4 for 105?
Zero. There's zero reason. Like that's insulting.
And that's what it's just so ridiculous. And I think I 100%. I'm in this weird kind of space of I'm not too mad and I'm also pretty sad, if that makes any sense whatsoever, because I do get the point that Seth and others, and I wish you were in our group chat earlier. So Josh McSwag, Xavier.
How am I not in this group chat? This is offensive to me. I'm just kidding. You can add me though.
But it had been blowing up all day, and as you can imagine from Josh in the chat, and as you can imagine from speaking with Xavier, very two polar opposites in regards to the dialogue that was happening. But I just when Tim McMahon in the during the Hoop Collective podcast was like, the Mavericks had a walkaway number and they've blown past that already. I think I'm frustrated in the sense of you either have a walkaway number or you don't.
Well, they got caught. Yeah. Josh Bowe tweeted something to the effect of the Mavericks had a high walkaway number that they were sure the Knicks weren't going to pass, and the Knicks passed it, so they look stupid.
Yeah.
That's his theory.
Yeah, they look ridiculous, especially if you're going to blow past that. And the thing that I'm struggling with, right, is I actually think in the grand scheme of things, I certainly understand the argument of Brunson, that not being a good contract. 100% agree. Like, I think he's worth 25, but, if it has the increases, the max increases, you're talking more of that like 27 million or so range. But I feel like I'm damn near certain that the next star that we trade for, or the next star that we get, we are going to trade for. Like, we are not going to sign a free agent.
Sure.
Like that's just not going to happen. We're going to be in the tax at least the next 2 years. So by then, Jalen is already basically on a 2-year deal, and I'm sure he would have wanted the player option considering the TV deal that's likely incoming. So at that point, I would just view it as that's a pretty good player. We would replenish our assets. So then our offer is Jalen Brunson plus the next 3 first, 3 pick swaps, and that's where we get our second star. Now I struggle to see that. And my other concern, it's almost like a peripheral concern because of this move. I almost view it like unless Christian Wood is an all-NBA player, I feel like this takes us out of re-signing Christian Wood, because if you don't want to get that much more money on the books with this kind of current construction, then why would you offer Christian Wood an extension unless he's just like out of this world, exceeds any realistic expectation anyone has for him?
Yeah, I mean, this is like this again. I'm just gonna make a bunch of terrible references because I've had some drinks and it's been a weird night. My favorite science fiction show is a weird show called Babylon 5. It's called The Last Best Hope for Peace. Well, this is Christian Wood's last best hope for a fucking contract, because he's either going to be good or he's going to be gone. There's really no middle ground.
And that's what I think he, especially with JB gone, but I thought even before, like he would be really good. Like he's just going to put up numbers. He's a good offensive player. Like,
yeah,
he just is. Defensively, he's actually a pretty good weak side defender, and he actually does some positive things defensively, even though, of course, not a good defender. But I'm struggling to see when, and you brought it up earlier, when Taurean Prince signs a 2 years, $8 million per deal, like these taxpayer mid-levels are really going to come down to the wire. PJ Tucker is going to go to the Sixers. Like when you look at our options, like Goran and Spencer aren't replacing JB, and especially then we'd have to replace Spencer's, production, etc. And Spencer had a great regular season with us. That is not who Spencer Dinwiddie is. If anyone has watched his career, that is not who he is.
Right. He's not a 48% three-point shooter.
Exactly. So the expectations on Spencer Dinwiddie, I've seen the tweets, and please God stop with the Jaden Hardy. It's going to cut Jaden Hardy.
Anybody that thinks they know anything about Jaden Hardy is mostly not telling the truth. Like if you're looking at YouTube highlights, you're looking at YouTube highlights. God, I hate some of these takes where it's like, he could be something this year. Okay, but you're looking at YouTube highlights. What are we doing?
Well, I actually think he can be great this year.
Are you on drugs?
I think he's going to be great in summer.
So you got me.
So I would concur on the fun part.
I walked into that.
I just don't. I struggle to see what, and when we're talking about year 3, and I'm going to shut up after this because I know plenty of people want to talk, but when you look at, we talked about it, Luka's deal is really 4 years. In actuality, it's 3 years before he asks out. These next 2 years, what in the hell can we do to make it any kind of appealing for him to want to stay? We are literally going to have to cash in absolutely everything after that second season, and we better hope that it just is the perfect mix of variables that comes into play to where a star wants out. We're still, a top 5-ish seed, still getting to the second round where they see themselves as that missing link to us being a contender. Because if that trade is not out there, we are going to be now past the point of making a Drew Holiday move, because Drew Holiday is not the second piece on a title-winning team in the West with Luka. We need a real second star now. And then the whole I'm sorry again, but we just got done here in the front office say, you don't need a second star. You can have all these good role players and build a team around them. And it's okay, so then you lose your second star role player for nothing. It's just this, we could have avoided this so many times over. And I'm struggling to see what the next 2 years look like. I just better not see them trade a single first-round pick away over these next 2 years, because we're damn sure going to need every asset that we possibly can. So
I love it, my man.
Well, I'll let others get the chance, to speak. But good talking with you as always, brother. You have a good one. Buddy.
Yep. Send me a DM too about if you're in Vegas. Okay, so I want to get something off my chest because we're 45 minutes into this. I would love, and then this is going to fall on a lot of deaf ears because you guys probably don't care. Some inside baseball. I would love it if criticisms of reporters stopped. I've known Jake Fisher since he was 19 years old. He is a grinder. He is an outstanding writer, thinker, journalist. I also think that there are times where, because of the way the market works these days, he's incentivized to probably talk about stuff that maybe he needs to flesh out a little more. He reported that he was, the Brunson thing was a done deal, and then has since walked that all the way back. I have seen some egregiously snotty comments from very popular social media accounts that do precisely next to nothing in terms of work of their own other than retweeting and showing up and quoting stuff. That's not reporting. Reporting is hard. Reporting means putting your ass and your name on the line, and if you're wrong, you get killed. We're somewhat reasonably kicking Jake. I just want that out there because I'm kind of tired of this. I don't report stuff. I get told stuff all the time. You guys would be shocked at some of the weird stuff I've heard. Some of it has been true. Some of it, is nonsense because that's the nature of the game. But the game is kind of zero sum where you're either right or you're wrong. And I'll tell you, Jake was right on KP a full 6 months before anyone was really willing to talk about that. Okay? And, I remember Chuck Cooperstein was like, who is this guy putting this out there? And, hey, the Mavericks were shopping KP because KP is a busted toy. So let's just relax in the reporting. It's hard to do. There are people out there, and when you see website I've never heard of, says so-and-so is going somewhere, and there's an extra L in their name. That's an element of this. So it frustrates me, okay? I've seen a ton of it, and it does not matter who. But if you're out there sharing quotes and that's all you're doing public relation for the team. You're not reporting anything. All right. Coming up next, my man, Jay Pry. How we doing?
Oh, shit. Okay, sorry. I was in the chat being just unnecessary, and you said,
Oh,
come
you
on,
guys are
bud.
all
And I
teasing
said,
me.
shit, okay.
It's not one person. This is like everybody wants to believe in their look, guys, we're fans, okay? And so we all want to believe in the best. We want to be told that our team is special, that we're the best, that everything's going to work out. That's kind of how we're all primed. Very few people are cynical dickbags like me that want to get in the grime. So, anyways,
Kirk,
what's going on?
I was asking it because I definitely tweeted some shit about Jake Fisher, so I was being an asshole to be an asshole. No. I mean, you have a point. I'm an overreactive fan, so I'm going to be an asshole to be an asshole. And whenever I saw,
Hey, not to interrupt you, the Knicks are trading center Nerlens Noel and guard Alec Burks to the Detroit Pistons, unloading $19 million. There is no sign and trade, and he's not saying this, but there's no reason for a sign and trade to happen.
Pain.
Yep.
Oh.
It's like, you know what this is? You know what this reminds me of?
What?
Have you ever stubbed your toe like twice in a day? That's what this feels like.
I did that last night. I'm not even kidding you.
I broke my
it wasn't my
toenail
big
off.
toe. It was my pinky toe too.
I did that too, and I tried to avoid going out for the night because I was like, honey, I hurt my toe. And she was like, shut the fuck up, leave.
No, I stubbed it in front of my wife, and she was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And then I stepped out of the room and was saying something to her and looked back and stubbed it again. And she just looked at me and she was like, you dumbass. So yeah, I'm there. I get it. What I was going to say though was the Jaden Hardy thing makes so much more sense now, because I remember, I was watching the draft. I was texting my dad. I was saying, hey, I really think that we're going to trade back into the draft, which we did. And I was like, this is going to be a perfect time to pick up, a player like, not necessarily him, but the one I'm thinking of, EJ Liddell, someone who tomorrow is maybe not probably will never be an all-star, but he's NBA ready. Like EJ Liddell has the build. He has, all the things that you want of a guy. Like, I know people hate 22-year-olds in the draft. I personally fucking love them because normally that means that they have the maturity
to
actually play.
Yeah, there's a floor involved.
Yeah, and people don't like floors. They like ceilings. But, I've been telling my dad for weeks, I'm like, dude, EJ's that guy. Like, if the Mavs get him, that fixes up, our wing depth. And, he could, even potentially, I've heard people say he could be a small ball five. I don't know about all that in the NBA. But, definitely wing depth. And I was like, we re-signed Jalen, and the Christian Wood stuff had just come out. I was like, dude, we got squashed all of a sudden. And when we got Jaden Hardy, I was really confused because I was like, don't get me wrong. I get that his ceiling it's up there. Because I remember when he was the number 2 recruit coming out of high school that I was like, yo, dog, this guy might, this guy's got game, to say the least. And it just didn't make sense because I was like, EJ is going to be, in the rotation at the start of the season. But it makes a lot more sense now if, according to was it Tim Cato that said that the Mavs have known for a while that Jalen was going to sign with the Knicks, or was that someone else?
That was Tim today. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, whenever Tim came out and said that, I was like, okay. They knew that it was going to hurt. They knew that they needed to replace somebody down the road and not just next season.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna keep a positive outlook on it. I mean, a lot of people have talked about how it's not Nico's fault. The way that the contract was structured is not his fault.
Well, I mean, here's how I see it. It's a good thing that the Mavericks have never lost a point guard that was important to the team right before to a really big contract to another team. That's never happened to the Mavericks before. It's good. It's good.
Right.
Sources are telling me that Steve Nash went on to be a 2-time MVP. Cool. Cool. Yep. Okay.
But it's okay.
But it's okay. I'm gonna go pour another drink. Well, thanks for joining again, my friend.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll pour up a shot for you as well, my friend.
It's a Tuesday. We're all really psyched.
Alan, I have to wake up early in the morning tomorrow, and I'm just like, I'm really screwing myself right now.
Oh no, but this I love this dog to pieces, but she wakes me up at 6:15 on the dot with a yelp that is like being stabbed. So.
Oh yeah, that's like my dog Luca, who's looking at me right now, ready to go out.
Tell Luca to get some shots up. All right, talk to you soon.
Take care.
All right. See who else we got in here. Oh, you know what? I gotta bring. He's late to the party, but I gotta bring him up here because Lyndon is one of my favorite guests because he is a grade A hater when he's pissy. What's going on, my guy? You know it. Don't act like you're not.
What an intro, Kirk. Thank you. I don't know. That's like when the comedian, when the guy introduces the comedian and says he's the funniest comedian on earth. How am I supposed to react to that now?
That's right.
Oh,
Well,
my
pull back from the mic slightly. It sounds like your thing is up, but let's go on. What's up?
No, I just saw the trade of Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel going to Detroit, so it's really over. Jalen Brunson's gone. On the bright side, I feel like I'm gonna sound like a grade A hater, but I just don't think Jalen Brunson's worth that kind of money. He's a 6'1", above average guard he's not even like an all-star, and I feel like Seth Cardinal said, I don't think, and I agree with Seth, it's just like, it's not worth it in my opinion. Like Jalen Brunson for 5 years, 125, he just, I don't think he's worth hitching our wagon to, but I also understand Brunson's reticence to kind of go back head first with the Mavs, because we all know that the minute the Mavs could find someone better than Brunson, they're trading him immediately. Like he's the first to go.
That's an important element of this. That why he might want to go. Because it doesn't matter now. I'm not going to say who, but I was told earlier this week that this thing has really probably been done much longer than we understand. I mean, think back to the jersey signing thing. And it doesn't have to do with the Mavs. It has to do much more with him wanting to go there. And it's just, I don't know. It is what it is, and I'm tired. It's a good thing I'm going to be on this for a while.
Kirk, the thing that I don't think, well, JB's from the East Coast. He doesn't understand. I was talking to my friend today. When I was in elementary school, maybe, my uncle took me to a Knicks game. And this is 05, 06, like early 2000s. And they booed Eddie Curry so hard. Like, I remember they hated Eddie Curry. I couldn't even believe how angry they were because he got paid and he couldn't live up to the contract. And I don't think Jalen understands if he doesn't play well, they're going to demolish him. Like, Dallas is really gentle and kind when he plays bad in the playoffs. They're going to hate him so much. Like, I remember, even the year before that Eddie Curry was there, Allen Houston was on his last legs. He'd given the Knicks so much. Mm-hmm. And when I tell you, I couldn't even believe, I remember my uncle telling me I was almost in tears because I was so confused why everyone hated Allen Houston so much. They were so angry, Kirk. Yeah. So I don't think he understands, like, those Knicks fans, they go really hard when they love you. If they pay you as like a big price free agent, and this team is optimized for Jaylen Brown to fail. Like,
yeah, no, Victor's in the chat saying they're going to love Brunson, and I'm like, there's a couple of guys in their team that suck ass. One of them is Julius Randle, who is low efficiency monster mash. And then they have R.J. Barrett, who I'm not going to spoil it for you, but whatever you think his field goal percentage was last year for a guy who shoots a lot, it's worse. It hurt me, and I want the Knicks to suck, and I felt bad for them.
Yeah, I just simply believe, like, this team, and then Coach Tibbs, the creative offensive mastermind that he is, I don't think that this team is built. Jalen Brunson, one, if you guard him with a wing, it's an issue. And two, Jalen Brunson needs space to operate. All that time he gets to do all those 4 and 5 fakes are because the Mavs are spacing you to death. That's why it's very hard. I think opposing teams were talking about how hard it is to stop Brunson because he's able to do 4 and 5 moves. Yeah. When R.J. Barrett's on the wing and Julius Randle is spacing, you're not getting 3 and 4 and 5 moves off.
Yeah.
And like his driving lanes will completely disappear because they're sagging off of RJ Barrett, and they like to play Mitchell Robinson in the dunker spot. I don't see the actual like basketball fit. If you just get down to the basketball fit, this is very sentimental. Leon Rose was his dad. Leon Rose's first agent. Leon Rose's son is his agent. That's all cute. But when we get on the court, I grew up in Queens, New York. I'm telling you now, they're going to hate your guts if you don't play well. And in my opinion, I'm just saying this now. I guess I'm sounding like a hater. But I think there's like a 50 to like 60% chance by next offseason, Jalen Brunson's contract will be looked at as like an albatross contract.
You are
like
not the first
crazy.
person to say this. I heard this. Like Seth might have said that on my show today. I don't remember. It's been a long day of talking. Lennon, you're the best, man. I love the heat.
Kirk, I'm telling you, and it's not even about Jalen. This team is constructed poorly. It's 2022, and you have a team with no shooting. And I know Alec Burks is injured, but I guess he was their floor space, and he's gone.
Yeah.
It's going to be like Brunson, Derrick Rose, Evan Fournier. I think Mavs fans should be fine. Somebody else got to pay Jalen Brunson his lifetime money that he earned. But it's whatever, man.
Well, good luck. Good luck to Jalen Brunson. I'm glad for him. I'm glad for his family, though I hear his dad's a bit of a tool. But hey, it is what it is. Thanks so much, London. We'll talk soon, okay?
Kirk, final thing. I don't know what to say this. I was listening to. Do you know who Joe Budden is? Joe Budden, the rapper from back in the day.
I do. Yes. I'm not that old.
I was listening to his podcast, and he was talking about like competing with like other guys, or like when he's competing with other guys in the sports industry for women, because rappers and athletes, they kind of compete for women. And he made reference to one time going by a woman's house and finding out she was smashing Rick Brunson, and I couldn't stop laughing because Rick Brunson's married. But anyway, have a good night, Kirk. It's crazy. Oh my goodness.
Be good, my friend. Be good. Okay, coming up next we have, and again, guys, we're gonna get to everybody because this is a Democratic show unless I'm super tired. Let's try. Oh, hey. Easily most, before Jake Fisher, Matt Moore was the OG guy that pissed off all of you. How we doing, friend?
So the thing about Luka and first team All NBA is
he's just gonna live. He's just gonna live there now because he's gonna have like 40, 10, and 10.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you were stuck in a rock and a hard place, right? There was no good solution here. You're either overpaying. Honestly, the mistake was not trading him at the deadline, and I was kind of worried that was the mistake at the deadline. Like, when they gave Dorian the extension and we're like, yeah, we're not trading Jalen, we're re-signing to the extension, I was kind of like, do you really want to, like, this is putting a lot of eggs in this basket. I mean, you made the Western Conference Finals, so that's good. I just, you can't sign him with the Knicks. You're going to sign him. I will say, I wanted to ask you specifically this, though.
Yeah.
Kirk, if the offer is 100, and I'll tell you, and I've told you this, I think the Mavs were willing to go to 88. Is $12 million worth it? Like, the chat's saying 30. If it comes out it's 30 a year, sure. Do not give him $12 million more. Like, don't go $12 million and more above your asking price. But if it's 100 versus 88, how do you feel about that number being the difference in having Brunson and not having Brunson?
I mean, I am tired because if it comes down to a price point that is marginal, and I don't even care about the tax. The people that talk to me about the tax, the greatest trick the Mavericks ever played on you as a fan is Mark Cuban getting you to give a shit about his money. He has been getting payments from teams that were in the luxury tax for 10 years. Put that in an escrow account and break it open whenever you have a good enough team. This stuff is not my money. If you can't afford an NBA team, or you somehow maybe, I don't know, let's say that you're not liquid as a billionaire. And you know what? Any of us that have assets tied up and stuff can relate to not being liquid. It's hard. If you can't play in the game, get out. And I'm frustrated by all this, is what I'll say, if it's a minor thing. However, I don't think it's a minor thing. I think the Mavs had probably, they had a point in their brains. Cuban went out there the day the season ended and was like, he said something to the effect on live television that we can pay him the most and we expect him to be back. Yep. So the fact that they can do that and they're not doing that says to me he wrote a check on live television that his ass can't cash or won't cash, and it drives me nuts.
So the chat's talking about this. Woj's wording was interesting here because he said, quote, in the neighborhood of a max, of a near max. That's agent speak for those of you that are trying to interpret this. That's the agent trying to be they're going to give him the max.
I mean, it's $30.9 million is the literal max of what they can give him. So They're either giving him $30.9 million or they're not.
Right. And I get that everybody's like, well, yeah, they just cleared $30 million. They just moved 3 players off of their roster. So, they do have to have the ability to field the 12 necessary to have guys on the roster.
Sorry, Scott.
So, 27.5 is now a number in the chat. I don't know.
CBA Mavs knows the math. So
yeah,
I've had to read his spreadsheets.
Yeah, 30.5 is the max. That's cool. Again, if it's 12 million more per year, then the Knicks themselves.
Yeah,
and you dodge the bullet. That's just
if it's 12 million over the life of the contract, then stab me in the knee.
Right. But I still think I still go back to maybe, the decision not to move him at the deadline. This is what's curious. If you didn't move him at the deadline and he's not restricted, right, which he's not, if you chose not to move him at the deadline, at that point you have to be no matter what it takes. You can't go even logically you can't not trade him at the deadline and be like we're going to re-sign him as long as it's below a money number we're comfortable with, because the New York Knicks always exist. There's always the risk of a team being no, we will go far away above this, right? So that to me is that's the instead of anything else, not trading at the deadline honestly is where I was if they were going to just go all in, I wouldn't have agreed with it, but at least it was a sound plan. This is the worst because you were basically we're going all in within reason. That's not how that works. That's not a thing.
I still don't think they expected to be good after the Porzingis trade.
Right.
And I don't mean that sassily, because they essentially at the Porzingis trade, they looked at things and said, we need to reassess. We need to figure something out. Maybe Spencer will be okay with another year of rehab. Instead, he started hitting 48% on threes and looked like he was actually good. And then they made a Western Conference Finals run. There's no problem with that. I'm just very curious about what they expect to do moving forward, because as Seth has noted, they have bad contracts on their books that aren't really going anywhere. They're going to have to offer Maxi Kleber an extension, for example. That's fine. Maxi's good. Christian Wood is a gamble. That is what it is. Dwight Powell, they have paid close to $44 million for reasons. Don't know what those reasons are. But it's, and then they signed all these guys where it's we got to give Trey Burke. And, I guess Donnie was somewhat validated by the fact that they finally moved off 9 garbage contracts to get Christian Wood on the team. But the simple fact of the matter is, they have mismanaged their books the entire time that they've had Luka Doncic. You and I are Chiefs fans, so we know it's Chiefs. Go ahead.
If there's any upside here, I will tell you this, is that there's a lot of buyers and not a lot of sellers. And so what I would say is, if you want to start moving contracts, which my understanding is the Mavs have at least been out there in talks offering various people. I think that there's
take my contracts, please.
But here's the thing though, is that I think there's more liquidity on things if you want to dump money, that's Detroit's just laundering the money right now, which is great. That's what you should do. You should be like, if you're in Detroit, that's why I was confused. And everybody's like, Detroit's going to get Ayton. And I was like, Detroit's going to launder the money and get more assets. What are you talking about? But I do think that there's teams like Atlanta in particular that are aggressively trying to reconfigure the roster, and they need partners that actually have contracts to move.
Well, Atlanta's never working with the Mavericks ever again.
No, I bet you not. I bet you that's not because I don't think Schleich would approach it that way. I don't think he would approach it like that.
You don't?
No, I don't. I really don't.
Guys, I like, this is devolving in the best possible way. And I mean this because it's like we have no say. They do not care what we have to say.
It's true.
But we're all diehards, so like we know the process, and it's so easy to armchair quarterback this. But it's just, I find myself thinking, Josh Bowe and I, like, the only podcast we ever had that popped early was when we were angry and losing our minds in 2019. You listen to that show where we're like, what are they doing? They took Porzingis out to dinner because their geriatric GM had no idea how free agency works. And let me be clear, Donnie Nelson is one of the most important basketball figures in basketball history, professional, international. He also should have been fired 6 or 7 years ago, but Mark hangs on to people for like 6 years more. They put their 42-year whatever his name, the wonderful guy Keith Grant. They finally let him go into retirement yesterday. I'm sorry, Keith Grant shouldn't have been managing the cap in 2021. What is happening? Get new people in. I'm sure he's a wonder. Well, go ahead.
I like how you've officially had enough drinks to hit the airing of grievances section of the evening.
Oh yeah, this is like what Festivus? This is I can't even think of the Mavs phraseology with it. I'm too tired.
All right, I'm gonna let you go so you can get more of the Mavs fans up. I want to check in with you. Hang in there, guys.
Talk to you next week. Yeah, we're all gonna go to Vegas and be mad at the Mavericks together. Everybody should join me. Brett, what's up, my guy?
Honestly, don't have anything to say. I had requested because it was just kind of instinct. But genuinely, I think everybody's made the kind of points that I would make. I think it's bad. It's still the same situation where you don't have any assets and you have a bunch of bad contracts for a few years. And as I said in the chat, we're going to end up with a lineup regularly playing of Luka and Tim Hardaway Jr. and Dorian Finney-Smith and Dwight Powell in 2 years because the players are just going to still be here.
It's incredible because I don't at the moment I'm in the emotion stage of processing grief because I understand this happened and not one person or thing is to blame. I also just don't care, and I'm mad.
Yeah, coming off of just a month ago, the high of making the Western Conference Finals, and feeling like the future was, relatively bright, to now where it's back to the drawing board.
Oh man, Brett, you got anything else for us?
Nope, thanks.
Be good, dude. Talk soon. Oh, man. Look at that. That's short and sweet and to the point. Who's been waiting a while? I apologize if I haven't gotten to people. Oh, DJ. Man, I'm sorry. What's up?
Oh, you're good, Kirk. What's up, man?
I am, having a beverage, sitting in my office, and I'm sure my wife is mad at me. So let's hang out.
Well, I'm frustrated. Not at the fact that Brunson is leaving, but just the fact that the person we should be mad at is Donnie Nelson. He was the one that signed.
Yes.
He was the one that signed Jalen Brunson to that stupid contract by not securing him and letting him at least hit restricted free agency had we gotten to this point. Now we're here and we're about to lose him for nothing.
I'm cackling to myself. If any of you follows Caitlin on Twitter, I can't even say her Twitter name, but she tweeted about 10 minutes ago. Basketball is bad. but at least everything else is bad too.
And now that I'm reading like that, McMahon said that they made an offer to Brunson, then offered him a 5th year, but still managed to lowball him. I think that's what triggered New York to go ahead and pull that trigger on that trade for Nerlens Noel and Alec Burks going to Detroit.
What's the point? What's the point of having intel if your intel is always wrong?
That is true.
I'm so tired. All right, so who's ready for the backcourt of Slovenia with Goran Dragic joining the team at my age? He is precisely 7 days older than me. No, he's
And
not.
I have
He's
a bunch of
36.
Nats.
I'm sorry, he's 2 years and 7 days younger than me. Apologies.
And I have a bunch of Mavs friends who are just so against signing Goran Dragic. And I understand, like, he's a little older now. He's not who he used to be, not even 3 years ago. And that guy basically led his team to the finals.
He's nuts. He's such a competitor.
It's just, you're watching him in Brooklyn and in Toronto last year. Like, how much does he really have left in the tank, And it's for the minimum, I'm okay with that, whatever. It's, to make up for losing one of Luka's best friends on the team and Boban, and I don't know. I mean, for the, non-production aspect of it, fine. As long as he gets Luka in line when he needs to, sure, I'm fine with it. But it doesn't make the team better long term.
Yeah, I can't hit the mute button. You know what else doesn't make the team good long term? Not having him. But I hear what you're saying. I do. Well, you got anything else, my friend?
No, I'm just, anxious to see what else they could possibly do the rest of this week. But we'll see.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much. We'll talk soon.
Thanks for having me up, Kirk. Have a good one.
And a very important question from Marcellus in the chat asks, Kirk, what is in the glass tonight? So you guys, I bought myself one of those GE ice makers that makes the Sonic ice, like the little tiny cubes, and it is incredible. It was stupid expensive, but my parents didn't know what to get me for my birthday because I'm an old man, and they gave me money, and so I used some of it to put towards it. It's incredible. It's worth it. And then some Deep Eddies vodka and on ice. Just really love it. All right. No, I do not. Josh, managing editor money. What are you talking about? There is no money in this. All right, my friend Krishna, what's happening?
Hey, Kirk. All 7 stages of grief, huh? All 7 stages.
I'm going to invent some before this is done.
Here's the thing, Kirk. If you want to get used to this kind of stuff, become a European football fan, specifically a Chelsea fan, and you do this every season, so then you kind of just get used to it in a weird way. It's hard because all the reports are going to come out, and obviously until it's official, like, it's going to suck. But I think it's just like
the chat is pissed at you for mentioning Chelsea.
Guys, okay, look, guys, I'm a Chelsea fan. I don't know what there's. I'm a Chelsea fan.
I love the string of all caps from my man Deshaun.
Yo, I'm a Chelsea fan. Chelsea just spent £100 million on a guy who scored 15 goals. Okay, let's not go there. I'm a fan of Chelsea. I was so happy when they won the Champions League 2 seasons ago. Let's not get on Chelsea right now. Chelsea are a different team, and they're rebuilding. But to get on the Brunson thing, it's like, of course it's sad. Like, should the Mavs probably have not lowballed him if all these sources are true, which they probably are, that they offered him a 5th year and somehow the contract is still lower than what the Knicks are offering? Yeah, that's not a good look. Like, I mean, it seemed like he was already not happy after not getting the extension before the season started or in January. And the idea we could have traded him for something viable, like, I just don't know how realistic that was, like, considering how low his contract is. And And obviously he would have had the threat of, I'm just not going to re-sign with you, like if he gets traded somewhere.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, there's a lot of competing intel where it's like, well, they knew for months or weeks, but then they also lowballed him. Like, what is happening?
Yeah. It's, the last thing, I wouldn't even be shocked at this point if somehow the Mavs do just re-sign him and it's like 5 for 30 and we're just like, okay, then
That'd be funny.
I guess all the intel was wrong. That'd be so funny. I just don't think that's going to happen, but that'd be the funniest thing because then that just means sources mean nothing now because anyone can say anything. But I don't think that's likely. I do think, now at this point he's going to go to the Knicks. And on the Knicks point, like, I don't understand what the Knicks are doing. They want to play, everyone wants to play 4 out, 1 in. They want to play 5 out, 0 out. 5 in, 0 out now. Like, is this the 90s? Like, I'm very confused about their team building in general. And also, Jalen Brunson, it didn't seem like he liked Richt, so he wants to go play for Tom Thibodeau. Like, that's also puzzling for me. But, like, honestly, I wish him all the best. And in terms of the Mavs, like, you just have to turn to the future, whatever that is, whether that's getting off of Dwight Powell's contract next year and not extending him, or it's just so confusing.
Did you say extending Dwight Powell would cause?
I said not extending him.
No, but just think about that because I'm in a dark place right now. Extending Dwight Powell would be hysterical.
Oh my
from
god!
a concept.
Oh my god! Look. I don't even hate Dwight Powell as much as so many Mavs fans hate him. Like, my stance on it is he's fine in the regular season. Like, he's a serviceable center for the regular season because the regular season is long and you just need guys to sop up minutes. But clearly, he's not someone for the playoffs. Like, that's been made clear for the past 3 years. But I just don't completely hate him. But at $11 million, it isn't overpaid. But I do think the interesting thing is, like, I could easily see the Mavs being like a lower seed, and then they're just going like, okay, teams want like Tim Hardaway Jr. and Spencer Dinwiddie. Like, let's just flip them and get something. Like, I could easily see that happening now, especially because even though so many Mavs fans think their contracts are complete albatrosses, they're not that terrible. Like, the thing with the Mavericks is now they have all these contracts in between like $5 to $20 million, which are all pretty tradable. And I think probably a few players will get flipped because I don't think that this team will be as good as last year. I feel like you lower the ceiling. But I do think there's some interesting things, like Jaden Hardy will be interesting. I think he's a better like shooter than Brunson, but like if any Mavs fan is expecting Jaden Hardy to come in and somehow replace all of the production that Jalen Brunson gives you, like, I'm going to tell you now, this kid is like 18 or 19 years old. He skipped a year of high school because, of COVID, and he struggled in the G League, which is natural after not playing a full year. So the expectations that he's somehow going to completely replace the production of Jalen Brunson, I think needs to be, like, tampered, at least for, like, right now. Like, just don't go into this season expecting that. And I don't know. Like, it's sad, but it's also, like, what were we expecting? Like, I don't know. It's just confusing.
What were we expecting? The post-2011 Dallas Mavericks story? Thanks so much for that. All right, we'll talk soon, okay?
Thanks. Sorry, Kirk. I hope it goes a little bit better.
No, there is no apologizing because you know what? We're all in this together. It's the mantra following the COVID pandemic and anything involving the Mavericks. All right, coming up next, one of my favorite people on the internet. He runs 77 Spaces. He works his butt off in his day job, and then comes back and does Maverick stuff whenever he has time. Jose, what's up?
Did you just see my tweet?
No,
Kirk?
I didn't. I'm currently suggesting to a new contributor to MavsMoneyball.com that he do something called Right. It's a strange concept. What's going on?
First off, I was fine earlier, like, hearing about Jalen Brunson leaving to go with the Knicks because, they pretty much going all out for him. So I was fine with that. But then, I was pulling up in the driveway. I just got done working out. And then I see the Woj bomb of Alec Burks.
Cool flex.
And literally. But Noel, like, going to the Pistons for second rounders and cash consideration. Nico, I'm just like, wow. They they have fumbled this, like, and I'm just thinking, a motherfucker in the office last year, before Nico got hired, was making millions to sit on his ass and file paperwork. And, not until the blackmailing and shit like that Mark motherfucking Cuban was going to offer him an additional 10 plus years. Like, boy.
I mean, that whole lawsuit looked like it was written by me after 6 drinks, so I'm not really sure how I feel about it. I also my wife, the lawyer, has advised me to never comment on it, but that's going to be where I am. But it's just that they screwed up, like, so many things. And I am frustrated with elements of the front office right now. However, we can't hang anything like this on them,
Right. And like the reason why I'm not having so much flack for Nico and Co right now is because I'm not gonna downplay what Brunson was last season, and in the playoffs we really didn't get to see what type of player Brunson could be. And the dude was basically getting 10 minutes, and going into this season we get to see a little bit of Brunson. He's playing well off of Luka, and then we get into January, and then the ruckus of Rick Brunson coming out and saying, "Oh, this was the original offer. We wanted to sign, but then they basically toyed with us." But like, can anybody really be mad if you're really just thinking objectively from year to year about Jalen Brunson and his production, and then like all of a sudden January comes, he's having a great season, you go into the playoffs, and then bam, he shows you he is a playoff player. Like, can you really blame Nico like at that point in time? And then also the contract they signed Dorian Finney-Smith to. So at the trade deadline, you're basically signing Jalen Brunson. You're signing DFS. Is there any real way that we could have moved off KP at that point in time with that salary that we signed?
I don't know. Isn't that a terrible answer?
No, because since people want to have like revisionist history and say, oh, why didn't we make the moves? Why didn't we do this and this? Like, we have to think about the possibilities of, if we sign Dorian and we sign Jalen Brunson, were we going to be able to move off of KP during the trade deadline? And once the trade deadline had already come and gone, that's when Rick Brunson supposedly said that's when the offer was off the table. I
don't trust Rick Brunson for nothing. I had multiple people tell me during the playoffs, because you've gone to games. Like, the people who go to games are loyal and go to repeated games. There were multiple people who told me during the home games that they saw Rick Brunson being kind of odd during games. I didn't really think much of it, but it's like we're now seeing stuff from Chris Haynes, who is just one of the most notorious. Like, he's a reporter, okay? So I just gave a spiel about reporters earlier, but like, he is when he's like really, really close with Damian Lillard. And so it's always amazing to me when you read an article where it's like, sources close to Damian Lillard say, and it's like, dude, Damian Lillard told you this. It's okay. But he said something earlier. I've talked to people in his circle, meaning Jalen Brunson, who think he has another level to reach that he just couldn't reach with Dallas because he played with the most ball dominant player in the league. Sure, Jan.
That's nasty propaganda. But
yes, I don't like it. It makes me not like Brunson, and I don't believe that.
But that's just what we're dealing with. Like, honestly, Kirk, like, this is what I hear in spaces almost damn near every day, like during the regular season, trying to protect like what Mavs are and what Luka is as a player. There's people that are from other fan bases who watch Mavs games who say, "Oh, you're not gonna win anything when you have a ball dominant point guard and everybody else is just standing around waiting to get an open shot." And then this comes out and that just amplifies that.
Yeah, but I don't really care because those teams don't make the Western Conference Finals now, do they?
Nah, but
Right?
they don't. But
But you're right. Like that is the talk. Like it's worthy of bringing up.
Most definitely. And then it just makes me be like, damn, like how more can I defend this against the propaganda? You know.
And well, I mean, here's where it becomes extra frustrating for me is over the years, our owner has said multiple times that like guys are going to want to come play with Luka, and I tend to agree that they should, but there is a should, and then there is what has happened, and I don't know how to reconcile those two things.
Exactly, and you know, like we talk to a variety of people who have their own podcasts, who have their own spaces, and they kind of say the same thing. Like Zach LaVine, is he really gonna come to be Luka's sidekick?
Nope. Like he's just gonna make all his own money.
Right. All these other players, they see this situation. They're like, do I really want to go play with Luka when I could just lead my own team? Like, maybe you could get a Kevin Durant maybe later on in the season, but you probably just lost your last asset in order to obtain a Kevin Durant.
Which I'd be okay with just because I love Kevin Durant, not for anything other than that.
But like with Jaden Hardy, I believe CBA Mavs, and I just talked to Dwight a little bit earlier ago, where I'm thinking about Jaden Hardy already, because if Jalen Brunson is 100% out the door, most likely it's looking that way. Well, it probably is that way. But Jaden Hardy, probably signing the minimum 2 years, and if we offer him 3, he gets a little bit of that mid-level exception money. And then I'm just hoping that if Jaden Hardy becomes competent, and he becomes maybe a starter, it's just like, okay, I don't want to be in the same situation with that guy who is not only clutch client, like that. You cannot mess that up. You can't mess up Jaden Hardy, because I mean that's probably your last chance at getting any clutch client in
Sure.
the building. So as this might sting, we have to pivot now into building and filling out whatever roster we're gonna fill out for the next year or so. So I'm ready for that. Like, if this is it, I can't stress about it anymore. You know, it's gonna be something that we're gonna have to get over quickly and just reinvest ourselves into building a contending roster.
Yep. Well, you're the man, Jose. I guess it is 9:30, so you're not staying up super late like normal and falling asleep like you have before.
I mean, this got me like energetic. Like after an hour and a half workout in the sun, running,
Woo!
and then I still got energy now just because of this, like this conversation.
It's called rage, is what it is. Not. Thank you so much, Jose. Do me a favor in the chat, post your Twitter handle. People should follow Jose. He runs a space along with Joss, who was here, but I think she might have pieced out.
May I promo it as well? We're thinking about starting a 30-minute space before free agency. I believe Kirk is probably going to do a green room.
After. I can't do this stuff during the day. My wife threatens to murder me.
Oh, okay. So 30 minutes before free agency officially kicks off, you could join me, Rollo, and Jazz on 77 Spaces. I seen Kenny shouting
Fucking
out.
Legend. Kenny's coming up next.
So shout out to Kenny. Appreciate you, man. Just follow us. We'll be covering this, and we'll be talking about free agents. The the free agent market as soon as it starts. So appreciate you, Kirk. Talk to you later, man.
Yep, be good. Talk soon. Okay, coming up next is a man I've not seen in the social space for quite some time. And I'm assuming it's because he had some real life things that happened, and plus he just didn't want to yell at everybody. But Kenny, how are you, my friend? What's going on?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm okay. I've settled into the home here in Dallas. I got a second dog, like a true moron.
Nice.
And I feel like a suburban house dad. So what's going on with you?
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, I took a little Twitter break. Just, I think I've been off Twitter for like a month. But I still go on every once in a while to check what y'all doing. But back to the Mavs. I may be in the minority on this, but I am a firm believer that if you have an unrestricted free agent upcoming, you have to trade him. You have to trade him. I know people want to say, oh, we didn't trade THJ. Well, THJ sucks. No one wants him. But an asset, you cannot, even if you're 99% positive he's going to come back, that 1%, you cannot let your second best asset go for nothing. You cannot. You can't even put yourself in that situation. And I know people are going to say, oh, he only made $2 million. You're not going to get anything, fair value. But anything value is better than nothing. You got to get a first round pick. You got to get a second round. You got to get something. You can't not let your second best player. I'm fine with Brunson leaving. So he earned the right to be an unrestricted free agent.
Damn right.
Right? He can go wherever he wants. If he wants to go to the Orlando Magic for $5 million a year, that's his prerogative. He can do whatever he wants. So Mavs fans being upset with him or mad at him, don't be. The Mavs set up his contract this way, right? He can go wherever he wants. As soon as I heard Leon Rose's son was Jalen Brunson's agent, I started tweeting about trading. He's gone. Trade him. You cannot put yourself in this situation. And we're over the cap, even if we don't pay him a dime, right? But it's just bad asset management. You cannot let him walk for nothing. Yes, I see we got a trip to the WCF. Yes, we did. But if you're telling me you expected to get to the Western Conference Finals before the playoffs started, you're a goddamn liar. Okay?
All right.
So I don't want to hear that, y'all. Nobody thought we were going to barely even.
Just note, I need to apologize to Jazz because I'm a shit and I can't say names correctly as Xavier can, or as I love to call him, Xavier. I can't say anybody's name correctly, including Luka Doncic. I'm just terrible at this. So, Jazz, you'll forgive me.
But back to Brunson. I'm happy for Brunson. He earned the right to go wherever he wants. Let him. Don't be upset with him. Some players, it's not all about money. His dad was in the league. They got money. It's not about money. He wants to go where his dad is, where his agent's dad is, and just ball out and not have no responsibility. I don't mind it. Even if he's making less money in New York, who cares? That's what he wants to do. Let him be happy. Some people, maybe he don't want to be second fiddle. He want to run the show. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all understand? Luka got the ball all game long. Some people like Dorian Finney-Smith, where they just stand in the corner all game. They love it. But Brunson is more than that, and he want to show it. Will he show it? I don't know. That's not for me to say. I hope he does. I hope he balls out. I want everybody to get their money, be happy, play where you want. He didn't force his way out of Dallas. He didn't demand to be traded.
Nope.
He didn't tank his value. He balled out for us, got us to the Western Conference Finals.
Y'all won a playoff series.
Yeah. Y'all should be thanking him and say, okay, I hope you ball out.
Yeah, I think most people here are pretty happy with him. People that do this stuff are happy, and in the sense of like happy for him. I think you're gonna find, and this is always the different. Like I listen to the occasional podcast of like different stuff where it's like a Star Wars fan cast, and like someone will start off by yelling about the racists that tweet mean shit to Star Wars actors, and it's like, well, okay, but like none of the people that do that shit are listening to this podcast. So it's like all the people that do this stuff, it's like we're never gonna, it's like we're player friendly, and we are owner hating, and that's just the nature of this.
All right, and I got one more thing to say. I want y'all to know that cap space is a lie. Okay,
Cap space means nothing. The Knicks just got off of $20 million in salary for 2 second-round picks. Y'all tell me, if they wanted to move Dwight Powell for nothing, they could. If they wanted to move Maxey for nothing, they could. Anybody can be moved. Russell Westbrook was traded 17 times for $40 million. Anyone can be traded. So I don't want to hear about this luxury tax crap. If you want to get out of the luxury tax, trade Bertans, trade Dwight Powell. Yes, they both stink, but anyone can be traded. So I don't want to hear about this luxury tax. It ain't my money. I'm not paying a dime.
Right.
So, but the Mavs will be fine. Dinwiddie's getting more minutes, and Dragic's probably coming. But, the Mavs will be fine. I've been trying to tell y'all for years about Christian Wood. The boy is a beast. Defensively, I wouldn't try if I played for the Rockets and Pistons either. So I don't hold that against him.
Well, and if he doesn't work, like let's say the 6+ years of bad habits and not just basically not being in a professional environment have sort of sullied him. And that's not I'm not criticizing. It's just we've all worked with people who can't figure it out.
Right.
I don't mind it because it's still better than probably what they were going to get at 26. It's not like Jake LaRavia was going to help us. For sure. Man, I love Christian Wood. I'm telling y'all, the Mavs have not seen a player at that position with that athleticism since he's like a super Brandon. He's like Brandon Wright, but 40% from three. He's going to be insane. He's dunking on everybody, shooting he can create his own offense. We haven't seen a big man that way since Dirk. I'm not saying he's Dirk, but No, I understand. But there's a lot. There's a reason everybody keeps giving him a chance because he's really talented.
The dude is gonna be a monster. Y'all just relax. The Mavs will be good. Y'all ain't never seen a player like this in Dallas. Trust me, the dude is gonna be a monster.
I gotta go find this one because friend of the program, everyone's favorite happy guy, Dalton Trigg. He shared something about an hour ago. He said everyone was talking about replacing Jalen Brunson, but just from purely a scoring standpoint, they already kind of did with the Christian Wood trade.
Exactly.
Y'all need to go straight to jail with those takes. Come on. All right, Kenny, you're the best. Thanks for hanging out.
All right, y'all. Go Mavs. Woo.
That's right. Go Mavs. All right, coming up next, we have a outside the pocket troll. My friend Sam Esfandiari, he of the Lightyear podcast. What's going on, my guy?
So I need you to catch me up. Are we upset that Jalen Brunson is gone? Are we happy? You guys sound upset, but at the same time, I listened to you talk about Jalen Brunson all year. So I need you to walk me through where we're at emotionally.
We're upset at the process. We are disappointed in that elements of things that feel like they were telegraphed from months ago came to fruition. And we are also coping with various stages of grief because at the end of the day, no matter how you feel about Jalen Brunson, they went from having Jalen Brunson to literally not having anything.
I mean, I do agree he is better than an open roster spot. There is no way around that one. No,
sources tell me my colleague Josh Bowe is going to be one of the bigs. And for y'all who don't know, Josh is like 6'8".
Nice. So does it actually – so this is something I'm trying to figure out from my selfish Warriors perspective. Does losing Brunson actually open up any sort of flexibility for the Mavericks?
They were $7 million over the cap before today. Not cap, the luxury tax. Excuse me.
So they're still they can't even generate the full.
Nope, taxpayer mid-level at most.
Ooh, no, that is depressing. I could understand letting him walk if it opened up options to maybe go after Gary Payton II and make the Warriors feel uncomfortable and pay for stuff. But
I didn't understand that. So there was the Mavericks are competing for Gary Payton II, and I didn't understand how. What was going on there? Do you have any input?
I mean, look, he could potentially get the taxpayer mid-level. I have no indication the Warriors won't match that.
Well, how do they match it? You guys are paying like 500 bajillion, like Adam Silver bucks. What is going on?
You're not even allowed to go to Chase Center if you have an IPO. That's how. You are correct. it's a tolerance of the tax question with the Warriors. Shout out Brian Windhorst, checkbook wings. But the question is, I'm under the impression that like $6 million is not going to be the number that makes the Warriors walk away from it. Maybe it is because when you calculate in the tax, that's like $30 million. But we'll see.
I hate you. Thanks for showing up. You got anything else?
I said I appreciate you. Keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. You have a good evening. And none of this would have happened if Leon Rhodes didn't randomly stumble upon Rick Brunson in like the 70s. So
that's right. All right. Be good. Talk to you soon. All right. Coming up next. And remember, if you're in line, stay in line. We're going to get to you. All right. Coming up next is Alex. How you doing, Alex? Alex's audio never seems to work. Alex, we're going to give you a second. You there? Okay. Alex, come back up here in a little bit. Let's go to my guy, Scott. What's happening? Mr. CBA Mavs.
Hey, man.
How you doing?
I'm here. I'm good. No, I'm not. So, hey, my take is that this is actually more Nico's fault than Donnie's fault.
Fancy.
In a weird way. You know why? Because what alienated Brunson was us saying around whatever time it was before the season, during the season, saying, hey, you know what? We don't really want to sign you to that contract. We want to be flexible in case we need to trade you. And I know Donnie and Keith Grant really screwed it up by not giving the fourth-year player option, instead making him non-guaranteed, which if you waive a non-guaranteed player, you don't get to keep the bird rights, and it doesn't make them RFA. So that's why he's not a restricted free agent, because all second-round picks, they can only be restricted after the first, second, and third year one time. And after fourth season, you have to be on a rookie scale contract to be restricted. So if Keith Grant and Donnie Nelson Brain Trust would have actually put the team option, then yes, he would have been a restricted free agent last year after the disappointing Clippers season, and we would have signed him to some sort of contract. And that's great, but I think he would re-sign here if he would have already been under contract with the extension at the max $455 if we had just not wanted to maybe something better is going to come up in the future. So I think it's half and half, man. People want to leave Nico untouched in this and say it wasn't his fault at all. Yes, he could totally have wrapped him up. I guess he wanted to stay flexible to get rid of KP, but
here's kind of my counter. I listen to a ton of the Hoop Collective podcast, and I remember Tim McMahon specifically saying they did not want to offer him this extension because they thought he would turn it down, and so they didn't want to piss him off by even putting it on the table. That has since shifted entirely, and I can't help but assume that narrative has changed because they're getting information from the very talkative and chatty and bizarre Rick Brunson. Now, I'm making some assumptions here, so I could be very wrong. It's just something that stands out because anybody that follows the Mavericks this closely, we talked about this, where it's like, okay, well, it makes sense because they're going to make him whole in the offseason. He's not going to take a 4-year, which is it's like $13.7 million a season for an extension for 4 for $55. And look at him now, he's going to be making north of 25.
Yeah. I guess I'm just trying to see who's the cause of this. I mean, it's Cuban.
Sure.
I tweeted out and it went viral. It was starting to go pretty fast that, the Mavericks are receiving lowered luxury tax payments and zero extra cap space in this trade. And it's true. I mean, we get to save money. I don't see the upside. If you want to offer him a 5-year at $22 million, 5 years, $110 million, and that's the max they've offered, and so the Knicks easily beat that with a 4-year, $107 million or whatever they're going to do, then what in the world are we thinking? Why not offer him 5-year 125, 5-year 130. Like, what's that extra 15 million spread over 5 seasons going to do to his value? It's not really. Anyway, it doesn't seem like it's a very smart decision unless Hollinger tweeted out this crazy process where if they combine the Kimba deal, the Noel and Burks to Detroit with the Charlotte not with Charlotte part, but the Knicks part, then we could do a sign and trade and start him at 24.5, and it would net the Knicks a small TPE, and it would net us, a $12.5 million TPE, which of course we never use. So I don't know why we would do that necessarily, but that's our top end hopefulness, is that we could maybe get a TPE that we'll never use. And, it just seems like roster building malpractice at this point.
Well, I know you're really excited that you've written like 4,000, 5,000 words on stuff that is now poof. But I will tell you that I'm very grateful for it. I think the chat is too. I know that during one of the 77 spaces earlier, or it was one of the Mad spaces earlier, they were referencing your Jalen Brunson sign and trade piece frequently. So we're all grateful for your work, even though no one on Twitter will actually read it. It's everyone else.
I get a lot of people, thanking me or whatever, and I'm really happy because a year and 4 months ago when I created this Twitter account, I was just looking at the hellscape of Mavericks Twitter and just all the dumb ideas and everybody talking about nonsense that was illegal, and I was like, you know what? I could make all these people unhappy if I informed them of the CBA.
Well, I'm really glad. Thanks for joining us, buddy. I'm glad you're part of the team.
See you, man.
All right. We're coming up on 105 minutes. No, we're past 105 minutes, and we still got at least 25 people wanting to talk. So let's keep going. Coming up next is Jason. How are you, Jason?
I am doing okay.
You sound sad.
I am currently in the phase of trying to think of all the reasons why this is going to be good.
Well, I'll give you one. You want to know what that reason is?
Shoot.
Luka Doncic. He exists.
Exactly. And I think, the argument for like regardless of whether we sign Brunson or not, there's no flexibility added.
Right.
I think that, this report that I don't know if it's true, if it's coming from Jalen or whoever else about, he can't reach his quote unquote true potential or whatever the case is playing next to Luka. I think that is, if he stays or if he did stay, I think that would always be a question because Luka is so ball dominant, and I think any player playing next to him who thinks that they could be better can always make that argument. And so, I was always, it sat weird with me, the idea of paying 25 a year. And say what you will about, it wouldn't have added anything to luxury, whatever the case is. But, I don't know. It always just sat weird with me. I think that I know it's gonna set us back considerably just because we lose talent for nothing.
Yep.
But again, I'm at the point where I'm just trying to rationalize, and I don't think a small guard who isn't particularly great at defense is the greatest running mate next to Luka. I've heard, obviously unrealistic at this point, but talks about Mavs looking at a player like Malcolm Brogdon, which I don't even know how they would try to finagle or, rob the Pacers of him. Assets do you have to do that with? But
no, this is not going to be a sign and trade. It's done. This is done. Yeah, we are cooked goose.
Not necessarily with Brunson, but maybe something else. Who knows? But
yeah.
But I just mean the prototype or the player type of Brogdon, a bigger guard, efficient, can defend. I think that is going to be the best running mate for Luka long term. And so I thought that from the beginning. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of, again, like I said, I'm just on this path of trying to rationalize why this in the long term will be a good thing. And I'm just going to go with my gut when after our first season with Luka that a big guard who is efficient and can defend is the best guy to play next to Luka. And I don't think Jalen was ever going to be that because he's going to turn 26. He's not going to grow anymore. Unless he put on 3 inches, he was never going to be the player that I envisioned with Luka. So that's just me. I'm trying to rationalize. So let me live in some universe where that makes sense.
I love it. No, I completely understand, Jason. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Appreciate you.
All right. Let's see here. Who we got next? We got my man Henry, who's been waiting for a while. How you doing, Henry?
Man, dead inside when it comes to Mavs free agency. Same old.
It's lovely, isn't it?
I mean, I gotta say, like it's making me giggle a little bit seeing some folks a little sad and act like the sky's falling. I mean, it's not like there's no precedent for this ever happening with the Mavs, right?
Right. I've never been sad like this.
I mean, at the end of the day, like the narrative that's annoying me the most is you and Jose talked about it earlier. It's like this whole idea that Luka's a high usage rate guy, like Jalen wants to run the show somewhere else. It's like you got to stop the cap, man. I need that Steve Rogers music.
What a great call. For anybody who doesn't know what Henry's referring to, he's referring to the absolutely spectacular Ringer podcast feed, the Ringer verse, and he's talking about the Midnight Boys, who is that is I mean, high key the greatest podcasting group right now. I just love it. Anyhow, man, I don't know. I'm just so bleh about all this.
I mean, I'm happy for Jalen. Like, go get that bag. Like, he definitely earned it. But yeah, I mean, he's gonna be on a team with Julius Randle, no floor spacing. Like, I mean, I'm not rooting for the Knicks to fail, but I mean, Jesus, man, he's kind of set himself up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I got 77 reasons to not trip about this, so we'll be good.
Love it. We'll talk soon, okay, Henry?
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
You too. All right, let's fly, folks, because we're approaching 2 hours and Kirk's getting tired. Shishi, my friend, what is going on? Hit that unmute button. Tell us what you got. Got to pull oneself out of the chat. There we go.
I didn't realize I was – my bad. Yeah, I don't really have much to add to the conversation. We'll just say that I'm extremely – man, I'm feeling hurt. I'm feeling hurt over here. Definitely disappointed. I think it probably hurts the most because for the first time in a very long time as a Mavs fan after we reached the Western Conference Finals, there's a feeling of hope. We're thinking that we're about to go into this next season with some continuity, getting, Wood, and obviously with the expectation that Brunson was going to be re-signed. There were just like some really, really high expectations heading into this next season in a Western Conference that was expected to get just much, much stronger all across the board with some incredible players coming back from the injury list.
Bingo.
So I think that Mavs, I think that Mavs fan would, let me just talk for myself. I can't speak for nobody else, but I think that I would probably feel a lot better about the situation if Dallas, the Mavericks specifically, because the Cowboys have absolutely no trouble attracting big name free agents. They're always on like the desired list in terms of like big name free agents, football players. But yeah, I think that I would feel personally a lot better about the situation if the Mavs had, a shit ton of draft capital, some cap space, or at the very least, had the ability to attract big name free agents. But the reality is that we're lacking in all of those areas. And so so that's why it's definitely a hard pill to swallow, because we're limited in what we can do, at least for like the next couple of seasons or so. And so it leaves a lot in the air. You have to like reset your expectations, and I think that's really the hard part about that. You have to go from like, damn, we're about to be, competing for a damn, excuse my language, everybody, but
No, cursing is good. Feels good.
But you go from like, damn, we really about to be up there with them boys, to really having to like extremely lower your expectations, because there are just too many unknown variables heading into the season. We don't know what the Wood and Luka pairing is realistically going to look like, right? Because those guys have never played together. There's an adjustment period. Wood is definitely going to be in a new role, because he was that guy in Houston, and now he's not necessarily going to be expected to be that necessarily. But THJ is Tim Hardaway is coming back from injury. I'm sorry, I'm using like Twitter acronym.
Right.
Anyway, I know I'm talking overly long, so I apologize. We got to get my ass up off this mud, but yeah. So that's kind of what I'm feeling. I want to retain some hope, but I'm gonna be honest. Like I'm feeling a tad bit hopeless right now. Let's see what Nico. I'm gonna give Nico some grace, because I think it's deserved. I will also say that I'm not too angry at Brunson. I know it's generally in these situations it's very, very easy to get angry at the player.
Yep.
But in this instance, just like with the Amari Cooper situation, right? Amari was wanting to stay in Dallas. They traded his ass away. With Brunson, and I can't get mad at him for that, because it wasn't his choice. With Brunson, I cannot get mad at him, because he was the consummate professional. He honored his contract. He went to work every single day. He wasn't a negative energy adding to a toxic work environment. And he really gave it his absolute all each and every night. And too many times in these situations, we see players force their ways out, or they, it's obvious, like productivity. It's obvious that they want out of their situation. And for those reasons alone, I have to wish Jalen the best of luck. I ain't gonna ride for him no more, but at the very least, I'm not cursing him, right?
Yep.
But anyway, so that's really it. I'm gonna give Nico some grace, because he has made some legitimate moves. I am also not going to blame him significantly, like some people want to, for not signing Jalen to that extent, into a situation with a lot of bad contracts. And so I think it's natural in that sort of instance to be a little bit more cautious and not wanting to. There's a justification for some of the moves, right?
Right.
But anyway, my bad again for overly.
Well, you're great. I always love it when you join. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, I'll let you.
Yeah, thanks for, no one ever apologized for coming up on the stage. I love talking to you people. This is a great time for me. And plus, and let's be clear here, the Ringers, J.J. John Straczynski, talking all things New York and you guys have heard that fucking spiel in their ads. He's running the room as well, and we're whipping their ass. They have 75 people. We have 300. So, hi. All right, let's, Alex, let's try you again. How you doing, buddy? Can you talk? Okay. Alex is still not able to talk. Don't know why. And then Holden just reminded me of a story I promised I would tell. So I want to relate something. We're at the 2-hour mark. Things are getting weird. Let's just keep going. When I was in high school, I had precisely zero luck with girls. I had like one girlfriend in 4 years. And then when I was a senior, a girl I crushed on forever. And I hope she listens to this podcast. Melissa, hope you hear this. I asked her to prom, and she said yes. And I was thrilled, just pumped. And then I heard probably 2 weeks beforehand that she had told a number of people that the only reason she said yes to me is because she knew I would basically spend money on her and treat her nice and that sort of thing, and that she didn't give a shit about me at all. And I bring this, so I broke it off in a rather public fashion, embarrassed the shit out of her. It was great. But the point was, I processed my grief quickly. And I want to bring this up in relation to free agency because we're hearing about this before Thursday at 5:00. We have 2 full days to hear about all this. Okay. We have 2 full days to process, to make excuses, to have reactions to something we didn't really have a say in to begin with, and to move on from Jalen Brunson and to cleanse ourselves and head into free agency. So Henry says, I must be dead inside. I am not dead inside. I married a hot lawyer who makes more money than me and allows me to do bullshit like this. Anyhow. All right, let's go to who's next. Sam, you've been waiting a long time. How you doing, Sam? What an incredible avatar. What do you got? Hit the unmute button for us and talk to us. The mute button is on the main page outside of the chat if you cannot find it. I'm going to bring you back up here in a second, and we will figure this out. Coming up next, then, is Austin. How you doing, Austin? Austin, another great profile pick. Are you able to talk here? Maybe not. Okay, we'll go to somebody else. We're just going to start flying through people. Derek, you're reliable. Man with an incredible half zip. What's going on?
Oh, thanks, Kirk. How's it going?
It's going. What's up?
I feel you. Well, I'm just celebrating this night, eating just some, heated up some pizza. I've got me a beer here.
See, this is better because we're normally doing this 2 a.m. This is good. It's 10. We're fine.
I think I may have mentioned before, I'm on the Eastern time zone. So, it's only 11 o'clock here compared to, the 1 a.m., 2 a.m. we were hitting there in the playoffs. So.
Oh, yeah, it was brutal. I was dying.
Oh, yeah. Man, the only thing I got to say, as soon as Jalen's dad, came on board in New York, it was just, I took that as a sign hey, man, this is probably going to be it for Jalen with Dallas. With his agent being there too, his camp kind of formed there. And I said this in the chat, between those two, I just don't, Jalen at 20, almost 27 per year on that contract, they must have really sold him, besides Jalen selling himself in the playoffs, I guess. But that contract's going to be crazy for them. Obviously it hurts us in the short term. But I know CBA Mavs has been really on the sign Jalen to whatever he wants to kind of get him back. And obviously if Jalen wanted to be back, he probably would have been back. But at the same time, it's almost one of those contracts where you're well, if he's leaving, he must really want to go there. And it's what else can you do,
Yeah, I mean, and that very much seems to be the case, is he, and I hate this because it's you're dealing with competing information in the sense of, you see Tim McMahon saying, okay, they were topping out at 5 for 110. And then you see that the Knicks are offering 4 for 110, which is a vastly different amount of money. And then you also see from Tim Cato that this has been sort of a thing for weeks. And it's when did all of this happen? And so that element of it is very challenging for me, because if it happened weeks ago and we're all just sort of dealing with it, Jason notes it happened before the draft. I think it might have happened even further back. And I hate the way it was petered out to us, where, I told my story above where it's like the nonsense high school story where you're getting elements of it a chunk at a time. And if it's already all done, why did it have to get to that point? I don't know. It just sucks to hear like this.
Yes, exactly. And it's not like the Knicks didn't have a chance to draft Brunson back when he was available, or even when the KP trade happened. If they were really, really interested in Brunson, they could have asked for him to be included in that trade. I'm just saying, the Knicks, it just seemed like until this year, it was just it was all, you didn't really hear a whole lot. And then this year it came and it was like, oh, okay. They see Brunson, finally starting and doing something. And then agent dad comes in, and it's just a whole nother mess, and I've seen this Brunson thing being compared to Nash, and it's completely different, and Nash left, obviously, the being paid more is a similar component in both circumstances, but I don't know. It just seems like this situation is a little bit different with Brunson, kind of having almost a pressure, for, his dad being their agent. It's it's just the kind of a perfect situation. He's got his own camp in New York basically now. So it's just frustrating. I'm with everybody else, but
I feel that, Derek. Well, thanks for hanging out tonight.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Kirk.
All right, we're going to go once more with feeling to Alex, who says he's going to try this with headphones. Alex, what about now? Got to check your audio input. This is nuts. Still isn't working for you, is it? All right. Sorry, my friend. Matt, what's up, my guy?
What's up? How are you doing?
I'm okay. Just made my third drink, so we're, I'm either going to be much better or much worse. There's really no in between.
I'm on the third beer as well. Been kind of in and out of the live. Been taking care of some things, but it was kind of confirmed today. But I wanted to say this. I kind of looked like I saw some stuff on Twitter. I think you probably saw it too. Back right after the playoffs when Brunson got that jersey signed by everyone.
That's such a foreboding moment if you read it this way now.
Oh, I know. I think I saw somebody quote tweeted or something, and I was just like, wow, that's literally just foreshadowing. But again, I think that I'm trying to make myself feel better. Because losing an asset your second best player, it's always tough. But I think when I look at the Mavs prior to this, I think it'd be hard to view Jalen Brunson as the second best player. But I think he gave you a means to get that second best player. So that makes it tough. But yeah, it's been a bad couple days to be a Mavs fan.
We were so happy after the Christian Wood thing. And then now it's this. It's I don't, there's still there's still a floor. And I'm not so drunk as to act like Jaden Hardy has, those of you who keep doing this are mad people. And I respect your optimism, but I've lived through the Josh Green years and the Justin Anderson years. And basically people with J names not coming up to par except for Jalen Brunson. And so I don't have a ton of hope at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that I think I did hear you talking some stuff about, Rick Brunson. And just kind of the way it seems it to me, it seems like even if Jalen was offered a 5 for 125 or a 5 for 130, just seems like his heart's been set to go to New York. And that it was the more stuff you're hearing and conflicting reports that, the Mavs have known about this for weeks. It just makes it feel like there wasn't much to be done on the Mavs front, which makes me feel, I don't know, a little better.
I think long term I'll feel better. I think short term I feel stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I hate that.
That's how I feel. Because I think when it first started, like, okay, the Knicks are gaining a lot of momentum, I'm thinking, okay, well, if we don't improve, like, what's going to happen in 3 years with Luka? I think that's just, like, where the negativity goes straight to. But I think in the long run, I'll feel a lot better about this than I do as of now.
Yeah, I completely understand. Well, thank you for joining. You got anything else you want to get off? Promote your show. Excuse me.
Oh, no, I was just going to say I don't have anything else. Don't want to keep you too long. But appreciate the platform.
Sure thing, Mac. Talk soon.
Will do.
All right. Man, I have now just a one page, so we're going to see how it goes. Austin, how are you? What's going on? Are you able to talk this time?
Can you hear me?
There we go.
You can hear me okay?
I can.
Great. Yeah, I've been listening this whole time, but thanks for bringing me up. I was just gonna say for the Brunson thing, I think long term this is probably a good thing. It just kind of sucks to lose a player like that in the short term, but it's also kind of like a repeated history with the Mavs. It seems where they're confident going into the offseason
Every
and
time.
it doesn't work out. Yeah, so it's something where it just feels like they have bad information every time, and that's the thing where it's like, okay, if you lose Brunson for nothing, you have to hope that they can sign a player just as good as him or better, hopefully better. Because like the roster they have right now, it probably isn't good enough to win, unless Luka carries them. But
Could you repeat the end there? It cut out for me, just so.
all right, yeah, I was just gonna say, like they're gonna have to. Like if they're not able to sign a player, like obviously they want a second star next to Luka, so they're gonna have to hope that they can get lucky and land one.
Yeah, we're gonna have, and someone's gonna have to actually want to say they want to come here, and I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah, that's the issue is like the Mavs haven't had a good history of attracting free agents, so you kind of want to sign your own guys.
That's correct. That's correct. Absolutely right. Well, thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, talk soon. Also, guys, do me a favor. Go tweet at me any Mavericks-related rumors. I'm trying to update our rumor mill post for the casuals out there. Coming up next, my buddy Leo. How you doing, man? One more time, Leo. There we go.
Oops, my bad. Just trying to not lose my mind and going through the stages of grief, but I would like to just ask a question or a couple questions. Is losing Jalen Brunson for nothing, was it, in your mind, was it worth going to the Western Conference Finals?
Ew. I really thought about that. Kind of like a Sophie's choice. No, but okay. Just because I like what we've set ourselves up for is a level of expectation that is hard to match. That's why.
And I've kind of made it inside my head to where I'm like, this is okay. This could have been worse, and maybe we've bought ourselves some time with Luka, showing him we can make do with lesser pieces, and maybe it's not a good sign for the rest of the league and the rest of the players that the only player that's actually signed back with the Mavericks past a second contract is Luka that we've drafted. So that's not great.
I mean, it's hard to do. Like, it's sort of overrated how many times guys sign second contracts because you just expect lottery picks to do something. But I agree. It's very frustrating.
No. And the lady who came up here, I mean, no offense to this, talking about how the Cowboys can get a free agent. Since when? I'm 22 years old. Since when? I've not seen that in my lifetime. To be a Cowboy fan. And to be a Cowboy fan and to lose Randy Gregory to free agency while having him at home as well, frustrating.
See, that's why you want to be a Chiefs fan like me. I'm just kidding. What else you got, Leo?
Well, I will say the Wired take. I can't believe the guy who made the Jay-Z reference didn't say this, but it's 77 reasons to have confidence in Jalen Brunson isn't one.
Good joke. And Leo just leaves. Frank, how you doing? Hit the unmute button for us and tell us what's up.
Oh man, I
I'm a few drinks in, but
so am I. We're doing well.
I'm frustrated with Brunson because we drafted him, and to not at least get the sign and trade, I'm frustrated with that. And I get it. It's not our money. It's Cuban's money. Is he worth the max? Is he not worth the max? I personally don't think that it's worth a max. Again, it's not my money. So if that's what it takes to retain him, you want to retain your talent, keep it. But I'm just kind of more frustrated because we take Brunson as Villanova is a great school. We take him as his player, national player of the year, several championships at high school. I think he was on the Old Man on the Three podcast. Yep. He said he'd never had a losing season until that rookie season. So now you want to go with New York to follow your dad, and it seems like you like playing second fiddle with. I mean, you're second fiddle to your dad, so you don't want to do it here with Luka. So I'm going to be frustrated at the player because it's the player's choice. He's an unrestricted free agent, so I have, in my opinion, every right to be frustrated with him as a fan. But that's where I'm at. I don't really, like I said, I'm a few drinks in too. So
Robbie tweets Jalen Brunson would be the 14th highest paid point guard in the NBA if he's paid. That math doesn't make sense. There's only 50 people that make $30+ million in the league. So show me that math again, my friend. Frank, I hear you though. I'm very frustrated as well, but I'm looking forward to seeing how they pivot, and hopefully we can have like a 3-hour green room on Thursday night when we see what's up.
Yeah, let's see what happens. But till then, thanks for bringing me up, and thanks for follow you on Twitter. This is my first time up on here, and I've always listened in whenever I can. And almost
thank you for joining. I'm glad. I hope you come back. I hope it's fun.
Oh, it is. It is every morning when I'm downloading the podcast. It sure is. So thanks for having me up.
I'm glad to hear that. So when Derek was on stage, I was listening to Derek, and my wife was also talking to me. And she was just like, sure, keep doing it, as she's staring daggers at me. So we'll see how this goes. All right. Jean-Pierre, how we doing? Welcome to the show. Hit the unmute button. What do you got for us?
Hey, Kirk, how's it going? Love the content as usual. Let's just say that the Mavericks don't make any more moves besides sign Goran Dragic and get an MLE player, maybe like a Hartenstein. Do you think Spencer moves into the starting lineup, or is THJ starting?
Ooh, that's a fun question. I suspect they try a mix of both. So Hardaway quietly grew to become one of my favorite players. And when he went on the JJ Redick podcast, he talked about how he grew to kind of love coming off the bench in the sense of the crowd gave him specifically a huge cheer. So I would like to see a mix of both. I mean, Tim has to figure out how to play defense. Like, Tim is a garbage fire of a defensive player. There's some gif, I want to say Dalton Trigg had it, where it's like there's him like spinning in circles because he doesn't know where to go. But defense is often about effort in so much as it is scheme. And so, if they could get Davis Bertans to do crazy, weird things on defense and turn Dwight Powell into a functioning player, Tim Hardaway's an athlete. So maybe we can get something there. And also, frankly, Spencer needs to play better defense. So I'm looking forward to either. That's a fun question. I like that.
Yeah, because they both have height. And, they're not the slowest. So it's just like, is the effort want to go on offense more, or –
I'm not sure. I would like to see whatever makes anyone happy, because there's, right now, like my current, taxpayer mid-level exception hope, and I can't believe we're here, is David Hartenstein, however the heck you say his name. So there's like little moments of what I'm expecting from this team next year. And if Luka comes in, I think we sort of forget this, but like 2019, 2020 Luka was God mode until he hurt his ankle. Like, they were crushing teams. So I'm like, if he comes into shape looking like he looks right now, where he looks like a cartoon, maybe the Mavericks will just roll people, and we can laugh at Brunson as he fumbles in New York and has to pass to Julius Randle.
Yeah, nah, I agree. Yeah, because I don't know maybe Nico works some magic with some trades, but you never know. we Mavs fans always get our hopes up, but then we always make minimal stuff happen during free agency. So,
And yet they kind of fail up, and it's lovable. I like it.
Thanks, Kirk. Have a good night.
All right, you too. All right. Max, what's up?
Hey, Kirk, how's it going?
It's going. What do you got?
Something I really don't get about the money side of things is that even if the Knicks do pay Brunson, like whatever their number is, like 110, I don't see how with the taxes in New York, how that's going to come anywhere close to what he'd get in Dallas.
Oh, it's not. Well, I don't know, because you pay taxes based on where you play, so it's not necessarily New York. So you pay 42 or 41 games in New York, and then you pay 41 games of taxes distributed through wherever you're playing those games. So the tax situation is kind of always, overstated.
I don't know. Plus just like every other aspect of living in New York is pretty rough. I mean, the media, the second he has a poor performance, the media is going to eviscerate him. Ricky from Brooklyn is going to call into WFAN and just scream about how, I mean, they were like that with KP as well. The New York media is not for the faint of heart. I'm a Mets fan, so I know just how terrible the media is to a player that's underperforming. And, I know JB is a professional, and I'm sure he has thick skin after, everyone that's flamed him in the past. But, it sucks to see my boy go through that if that happens.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, all I can hope for is sort of like a laughing, hoping, tampering investigation, because like all this stuff is just out in the open. Now, part of the reason why we have this moratorium is for the business year. And anybody that has, and I don't mean to be insulting because I work for a nonprofit, so everyone forgive me. There's an element of like, if you've never given a shit about financial year close, like you probably don't know why this stuff matters, but almost all this stuff has to do with like the league closing their business books and then opening the next year. So it's like, they don't want this stuff out in the open. And that's why I don't think like tampering ever really matters. It's mostly an instance of irritation, because they don't want this stuff out there, because they want to be able to say this is like the hard close to this year and the open of next year. But so it's just like, I don't think any of it is gonna matter at all. So
yeah, I mean, ultimately we'll see what happens. I wish JB the best. Maybe the Knicks have developed some like secret spine lengthening technology, and he'll walk on the court at the beginning of next season, and he's gonna be 6'7". But all power to him. JB will always have a place on the American Airlines Center court.
Love it. Thanks so much.
Take care, Kirk.
All right. Coming up next, Grayson. How you doing, Grayson?
Hey, Kirk. Yeah, I know you got a ton of people, so I'm just gonna fire off some takes.
No. Do you have a soliloquy? Because I need to take care of something for like a minute and a half. Or do you have it ready?
I can go.
Oh, let's hear it. Let's go.
Okay. So I haven't heard a lot of it tonight. I don't think it's like a real issue, but I really don't appreciate seeing Jalen Brunson slander. Like, this dude got paid next to nothing for like 4 years, and he was a huge part of this playoff run and like put up 40 points in a playoff game. Like, he has earned the right to just, make this step in his career. And I know, like, I don't know if like, sometimes I just think that we need to remember that like that basketball is important and these guys take it really seriously, but they also have lives and stuff. And like being making $27 million per year in like New York City, and like, I mean, New York City, like, I mean, like that's a draw for like a lot of young people. And I don't think like a lot of people would say no to that. Like, I think there is like also a personal side to this, on top of the fact that like his agent, and he has like agent connections with, like family, or there's some connections there. I'll just say that. And like, man, I do agree though that the New York media is just so scary, man. Like, I'm sure he's ready for that. And he's He seems to have a good head on his shoulders. But yeah, I mean, what's really sad about this is that Knicks fans don't seem to really even want him that much. Like, I don't know, my best friend is a New York Knicks fan, but he's more of a casual fan and he's excited about it. But a lot of the stuff I've seen on Twitter is like, they don't seem very happy about it, which is sad to me because I love Jalen Brunson. Like, he's awesome.
Well, because smart basketball fans know that a 6'1" guard who doesn't shoot a lot of threes and doesn't get to the free throw line and has really interesting footwork is a fascinating piece. He's not the piece.
Right. And I mean, I don't know. I came up here like a week ago and I was like, there's no way he goes to New York. Like, I don't get it. I don't see it. Like, there's like, and I was in a very different place then. I think we all were. But yeah, I mean, like, I get it a little bit. Like, I know this seems maybe selfish, but to a guy that plays point guard, being the lead guard might be something that he wants to do. You know, like, I mean, I'm not gonna slander him for wanting to have the ball more in his hands. Like if that's the case, and I do hate that narrative that surrounds Luka, and I think it keeps players from coming here. But like, you know, if he wants to have the ball more, then like this decision makes sense for his career. And like,
I mean, does it? Julius Randle and our other guy, I'm too drunk to RJ Barrett, like stinky. Those dudes shoot a lot.
Yeah, I mean, but like those guys, no disrespect to those guys, but they together aren't Luka. Like, I mean, they may have a higher usage percentage than Luka, but like Luka is getting to like a 40% usage rating in the playoffs still, like 4 years in. Like, and I know the regular season is different, but I don't know, man. Like, I just watched Jalen Brunson drop 40 points in a playoff game, and like the Jazz were imploding, but that doesn't mean they're a bad team. Like, I just don't know. Like,
does it?
I mean, he got lucky. Donovan Mitchell can't play a lick of defense, and Rudy Gobert looked like at that point he was ready to just be done and leave. And I mean, we know now that Quinn Snyder was like, "Yeah, I'm good, thanks anyway." So yeah, I mean, he got a little lucky there. But like, I really like Jalen Brunson, and I'm just like, I'm gonna keep going. Like, you guys need to stop slandering Jalen. You also need to stop slandering Jake Fisher. Like, really, guys, come on. Like, I don't think a lot of people in this chat are doing it again.
Nah.
Like, I feel like I'm preaching.
No, I was soliloquizing to no one, and I'm going to get heat for that later because I went at a different series, and it is literally not one person. It's like 5 people that I could argue with about like the sort of.
I've seen it. I've seen the tweets you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I mean, and they are. I'm not saying anymore.
No, it's fine.
But like, okay, so what this means for the Mavericks besides like what we need to do to the roster, and we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but like that narrative about Luka, like he has the ball all the time, and like, you know, you don't want to play with him. Like if JB goes to New York and balls out and is really good, and like they vote him into the All-Star team because it's like this crazy market, like that narrative around Luka is going to massively increase. But if he goes to New York and doesn't play well, then people are just going to say, oh, Luka just made that dude a bag, you know, and that's going to incentivize people to come here more. Those are the kind of things that I'm thinking about at this point. I mean, obviously, like, I don't feel good about losing JB at all. Like, it sucks. It really, really sucks. But this situation is just so weird. And like personal, and I'm not gonna pretend that like I know what's going on behind
it. It is personal because when a guy grows up in your organization and his dad comes to playoff games and starts acting a fool, which is a thing that has happened, okay, it's just like, what are you gonna do? Like, I love Jalen. I'm really happy for Jalen. Jalen Brunson is not Luka Doncic. And it's like, oh, well, you know, Chris Haynes is out there, you know, well, we think he has another level to go to. Is he going to get to that level with the Knicks? Good luck.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, right? I'm rooting for him, though. Like, if I wake up one day and Jalen Brunson is an all-star, I'm going to be happy for him. Like, I know maybe that's not something a lot of people want to hear, but, like, we paid him what, like, $4 million to play here, like, or like 5-6 million for 4 years.
Right.
Like, I mean, I'm not gonna slander him for not wanting to for wanting to go to New York City over Dallas, Texas, where it's 103 degrees at 2 a.m. Like, sorry, I get it. You know, that's the last thing I'll say about JB. The last small point I want to make is Luka's career is like super, super, super following that 2007 LeBron path. Like it's a little weird at this point. Like they didn't make it to the finals this year, but they did lose to they made a deep playoff run. They lost to the champions, and then they lose maybe the second best player on the team in free agency to like blatant franchise contract malpractice. Like I'm talking about Boozer for those who don't know.
Yeah.
But, like it's just weird, and I don't know if that kind of stuff matters, but like as a Luka Doncic, like just to a fault, like diehard, if he like, I think he is on a trajectory to leaving Dallas right now, objectively, and I hope that doesn't happen. But like, if I'm sitting here in 3 years and Luka's wanting out, and I don't think he's the kind of guy that requests a trade, but even if he does, it's like, okay, like you've watched them just fuck up like constantly for like 4 years already. Like I wouldn't have a ton of faith in the front office to put a team around him together. And maybe like that's super pessimistic of me, but I just think like these guys are real people and they think about these things, and like these things matter. Like, so maybe Nico Harrison has magic. I mean, hey, Jay, did you watch the JJ Redick podcast that they dropped this morning? Draymond Green said the Mavericks were, quote, a threat, but not a problem. That's just interesting. But then he talked about Nico. He shouted out Nico in his time at Nike, and then he talked about I think Dudley in the front office. It was really interesting, actually. It was like they talked about the Mavs for like 3 minutes just randomly.
And Green says many things is where I'm going to leave that. But yeah, I know what you mean.
I mean, it's just like that's as ringing of an endorsement as you're ever going to get from Draymond, if I'm honest. Like he's not going to say a nicer thing about another team than that. Like he said that if you have Luka Doncic, you probably have the best player in the series. Like,
right.
I mean, that kind of stuff matters. Like if he is saying that, then that means that the narrative around Luka for the players in the league is shifting. Hopefully, I hope. And these things matter. So that's all I'm saying. And I'll shut up now. And like, but this is a narrative league, guys. Like this is a narrative driven league. So like these things matter so much. All right. Anyway, I'll shut up now.
Nope. Thanks, Grayson. Talk soon. All right. Let's go to Isaac. What's up? And we're going to get to everybody who's hanging out. I don't mind. It's already, we've already been here 2.5 hours. What's 10 more minutes? What's up?
How's it going? It's my first time here.
Welcome. You sound great. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you.
Sweet. So the reason why I want to come on is I heard you wanted Isaiah Hartenstein on the MLE.
I mean, right? I'm pissing in the wind at this point. Do you have any ideas?
Okay. So I'm on the fence. So I'm a Bulls fan, but I also I'm a Bulls fan, but I like Luka a lot. So I follow the Mavs like my second team, I guess. But personally, just coming from the Bulls fan who has invested like 30-something million in Nikola Vucevic, I just don't think like investing because you already have 11 million in Wood, 10 or something like that in Powell. So investing 30 million in a center, especially that one that's going to play like 25 minutes max, isn't my like preference. I think what I would do is maybe try to go mid-level exception on a guard, 3-and-D wings, something like that, like Gary Harris from Orlando maybe. I think the most interesting name that has some potential.
We don't have the full MLE. We only have the taxpayer. So
Right.
Isn't it significantly less than the MLE?
I think it's like 6 million and the MLE is like 10.
Right. So it's like you don't think like 6 for a guy like Hartenstein when we've had to play Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleber, who make a combined, I don't know, like 18 million between them is too much.
Yeah, I definitely think 6 million is a value for Hartenstein, but I also think he might exceed that middle.
That makes sense.
Right, and I think he's definitely a good player. Like he's got some underrated like ability in the short roll, like either he's shooting like a one-hand floater or making the extra pass to a shooter or a cutter or something like that. But I think the most interesting name, and I don't know how much value he has. Like this is kind of like a throw shit at the wall kind of guy. Is Victor Oladipo. I mean, he's you know, he gives you some of that second ball handler as a dynamic, you know, gets the rim threat. And sometimes he looks dead, but he did just come off of like a major knee surgery.
Right. I mean, it's like it was his whole quad.
Yeah, but I feel like he's going to be cheap. I don't know what Miami's going to do because obviously they're going for Mitchell or Beal or something like that. And, you know, I also think that Oladipo kind of offers you something that Brunson doesn't have, and the ability of being a two-way player. Brunson obviously competes. You know, he's a professional, but I think Oladipo offers you some variety of a dynamic on-ball defender. We saw in Game 5, I believe, of the conference finals when he matched up on Tatum and he was picking his pocket, and especially Jalen Brown, who was really rough with his handle. But I think that Oladipo is an interesting mid-level target guy. Obviously, re-signed with Miami in the minimum. It's like you don't really know how much value he's going to have in free agency. And then I also thought, like, you know, I don't really know how much, you know, the Bertans contract or Hardaway or anybody like that makes sense in terms of trade. But I thought it'd be interesting to maybe take a chance on Joe Harris if the Nets blow up. He just had ankle surgery, but he can definitely shoot. He's obviously one of the best shooters in the league, and he does a little bit off the dribble stuff that's kind of sneaky, but it's also because maybe just because he plays with Harden. He used to play with Harden, Durant, and Kyrie, and had floor spacing. But those are just my thoughts. I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Well, I need to take a moment to sass my dear friend Dalton Trigg, who just posted that Dennis Smith tells me he would welcome the opportunity to Dallas or to return to Dallas to prove himself. I'm sure he would because he stinks. Anyways, I'm up for anyone. You could list anyone that's not Dennis Smith or Dennis Schroeder, however you say it. Those are the two guys I don't want. So athletic guard, you know, and Scott notes in the chat that the Heat have like full bird rights on him, so it's like a little bit difficult. But it's like I'm up for anyone. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think Miami, especially if they make a move for the star guard like Mitchell or Beal. Oladipo, you know, he might have some of the same things that Brunson has in terms of aspirations of getting back to the elite player he was, which I don't think that's ever going to happen, but he may be thinking that could still happen. He could be a starting guard on a contending team and be the secondary ball handler. And I also think it represents interesting opportunities with how you stagger your lineups, because if you take Luka out and you're out with Brunson and Oladipo, you still have two ball handlers, or not Brunson, Dinwiddie. And, you know, Hardaway adds some shooting. And especially, I think what I would do is, you know, always keep him on the floor with Kleba and no Powell, because, you know, you run the 5 out. Oladipo is not like the greatest shooter in the world, but I don't know. Obviously, it might be a long shot to have it happen, but he's an interesting not a prospect, but interesting guy. So,
well, I love the idea. I appreciate this, Isaac.
Thank you.
All right, hope you come back, even though you're a Bulls fan. Well, what you should do is tell the Bulls to send us Zach LaVine. Or no. My guy, my former Laker. Why is his name slipping my mind?
Caruso? Oh my God.
Caruso would be cocaine with Luka. Like they would work.
Yeah, I mean, both former Laker guards, Caruso and Lonzo Ball, would be great fits.
So good.
Lonzo
anyway.
Ball, as soon as he got hurt, the season went astray.
It did. When Lonzo Ball got hurt and Caruso had his wrist broke by the coward Ted Cruz, like things just went sideways.
Yeah, I remember listening to Nate Duncan's podcast or whatever, and they were talking about like the point differential thing, and like the Bulls are just terrible, but and they're like, I don't know, but yeah, just hoping that's all right for them next season, and as well as the Mavericks here.
Well, good luck to you as I can from a conference away. Thanks, Isaac. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, Mario, what's up?
Hey, Kirk, what's up, man?
Thanks for waiting so long. How you doing?
No, I appreciate you bringing me on. I missed most of this. I didn't get the notification until later. First time.
Well, let's hang out. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the points that I heard right before this kind of cover what it sucks that we lose a homegrown player, and, you know, it's in the grand scheme of things a $5 million difference, right? Average annual value. But I think in the long term, it's going to make more sense for Dallas to have their second best player ideally be a true $30 million a year player, right? Instead of, I love Jalen Brunson. I've been a huge fan of his from the day we drafted him. I went to Texas Tech, so I watched him cook us in the 2018 Elite Eight. And I was like, man, this guy is freaking amazing. Like he would be, this was before Luka or anything. So, seeing him grow into the player he is now has been really fun, but, obviously sucks. But I'm actually a little bit more optimistic than I thought I would be after this, like after learning that, kind of set in stone, so to speak. So, I think I've seen enough from the last year that I think Nico and J Kidd have earned some trust.
Yes.
And I think being a long-term Mavs fan, I probably started watching like 2000. We probably got a little PTSD from Donnie, right? And all those 2013 to 2015 runs where we were supposed to get Dwight Howard and then Darren Williams and then, the list goes on. So I feel like, we have a chance to actually, do something. I think we're just so caught up in the normalcy of, well, this is same old Mavs,
Yeah. I'm very interested to see how this front office pivots because they went from being in sort of a difficult situation to being in a really outright unfair situation. So we'll see what they do. I mean,
yeah. I mean, if you think about it like this time last year, we're all upset because basically our only move was THJ getting re-signed and Reggie Bullock.
And Bullock ruled.
In 1 year. No, it was probably one of the best signings the Mavs have made in damn near 10 years, probably. Just thinking off the top of my head, but I think they've proven they can do a lot with a little, right? They traded KP when no one thought we could. They found, salvaged somebody's value in Dinwiddie that, a year, ago, you probably couldn't do the same thing, right? So I think it's just a little bit of, Mavs fans need to be a little patient and probably just be realistic. But I mean, at the end of the day, you have your machine gun. You have the guy that can take you to that, series, the NBA Finals, and that's all that really matters. Putting the team around him is important, obviously, but you have that guy.
Yes, I love it. Mario, thank you for waiting for like 2 hours to talk.
No, I wasn't waiting that long. I was probably only waiting like 30 minutes.
Okay, well, 30 minutes. It's still a long time. Thanks for hanging out.
I appreciate it, man. No, thanks for having me.
Hope you come back. Talk soon. Anybody that wears that incredible city jersey is a true hero. All right, Victor, what's up? Victor, you still there? You've been waiting forever, too. I apologize. Hit the unmute button for us if you're still hanging out in the chat. Whew, just great audio. All right, we will try the next person. Let's see here. Let's go to my man Juan. Hey, Juan, what's up? Juan is also passed out because it's been nearly 3 hours. Okay, let's go to Ryan. Hey, Ryan. One more time with the unmute button. I saw you hit it or it did it for you when it brought you up on stage. All right. Let's go with Chris. Hey, Chris. Chris, I've seen you in the chat. How you doing? All right. Nobody's audio is working at this point in the night. Ryan, let's try again.
Hey, can you hear me?
There we go.
All right, I'll keep it brief because I know you've been doing this a while. But I think the biggest thing is, as you've hit on a million times, the Mavs draft history is just brutal. And if anyone is unaware, go look at the Wikipedia page of the Mavs draft history. And Jalen Brunson is basically, obviously other than, Luka, who's knocked out of the park, Jalen Brunson is really probably the second best one in the last, however many years. And so it's just pretty brutal that on top of not drafting well, they finally hit on a pick and they lose him after his rookie contract. But I mean, we all know that.
Right.
And I don't know. The other thing is just we're all excited about Christian Wood. The fit with Luka on offense is going to be insane. But I hope fans are ready that, if things go poorly, then it won't matter. But if things do go well, we're basically going to have this exact same situation next year where he's an unrestricted free agent, probably going to get, if things go well, probably going to get offered more money than he's worth. And we'll be doing this all over again. And finally, I'm just kind of annoyed with the way NBA salary caps work, where there's a cap, but there's not really a cap. But it's not like baseball where teams can choose to spend and then pay however much in luxury tax. It's that you're super heavily incentivized to pay players more than they're worth because you'll never be able to spend that money otherwise.
You're heavily incentivized to keep players who you draft is kind of the thing. Like the Warriors are the textbook example of this. Boston is close. And the Mavericks have sucked at this the entire time I've been fans of them. They fell into Luka Doncic. I was drunkenly calling for Luka Doncic within one game of watching Dennis Smith Jr.'s 30% usage rate. Like, I don't want to say the draft is easy. It's not. It's hard. But, like, the Mavericks have never valued it. They just have never valued it. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, I know this is basically the common theme whenever people are feeling down with the Mavs. If you look back, it's really the draft. But, yeah, it's tough because, that you need to build up, like, to be a contender, you need to basically be spending way over the cap. And the only way to get there is basically giving extensions to players you draft, like you mentioned. And on top of, not having the players who are worth giving that to or losing out on them, like Jalen Brunson. Just things like, I'm going to say it again, but Desmond Bane. If the Mavs draft Desmond Bane, they probably win the championship this year. I'm a firm believer in that. But, it's whatever. We still have Lucas, so you can put him on basically any team, and they'll be, at worst, a play-in team.
Ryan, it's not the most interesting take, but I think it's probably the most correct one, because if the Mavericks are somehow really bad next year, it's because Luka got shipped to a black site for a year and the Mavericks are hiding him, or he loses a limb and they're figuring out a way to give him a bionic leg. Luka just wins games over the course of things. So I like this.
Yeah, so I mean the floor is there, and I know someone earlier mentioned that we're on a trajectory to have him leave in a couple of years. I'm a little bit more optimistic than that. But, they just need to honestly get a lucky break where, whether Hardy ends up, breaking out, or they're able to get someone to trade at a low cost that ends up being a big contributor. They just need something to go their way, and I think they can hopefully reach the contender stage again.
Well, Ryan, I appreciate you waiting, and I appreciate your time. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks.
All right, we're going to try a couple people that blazed through here and weren't able to click unmute. The first is Victor. How you doing, Victor? If it's not giving you the unmute thing, tell me in the chat and I will bring you up on stage. All right, coming up next then is Juan. Hey, Juan. Juan, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, great. All right. Just really quickly here. So I was very frustrated earlier in the day once those reports started coming out, and then just hearing everyone, their opinions and thoughts on the situation, kind of eased my mind a little bit. But I don't see how the Mavericks can, I don't know, here in the next few days, I don't see any potential move that will make up for this loss, in my opinion. I can see the Mavericks, signing Goran and maybe GP2, but I just don't see what else, the Mavericks can do other than, just sign those veteran guys and, depend on Luka again. And I know, there was people saying that we should have traded him during the deadline, but, I just don't know how Luka would have felt about that, So I'm sure that matters a lot. I wonder what he's thinking right now after seeing all the reports, speaking to Brunson.
Yeah.
It's like we take one step forward and then take two steps back. I was really excited with the Christian Wood trade, but now with this, I don't know. I really don't know what they're going to do now. I know we're not in trouble. We know we still have Luka, one of the best players in the league, but it is pretty depressing.
It is
Once you think about it, yeah. Once you think about it, but I mean, he's a great player. Yeah, I hope he does well in New York. He deserves it. The pay raise. I mean, he did great in the playoffs. I mean, he had his moments, but I'm happy for him. But yeah, that's all I had. Thank you for having me up.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Juan. All right, we're going to try Victor one more time. We're going to go with a gusto. Victor?
Hey, man, can you hear me?
There we go. All right.
Nice. 20th time's the charm. Man, what a roller coaster. I'm just up, down, sideways. Appreciating the marathon that you're putting on here because I think I'm exercising some demons. So this truly is group therapy. I guess where I keep so a couple of takes. I think first, big picture, long term, it's a blow, but not a death blow, right? 77 reasons, I agree with that. But just even the way the team is constructed, whether it's Tim, whether it's, just a secondary ball handler taking Jalen's spot that's not even elite, I do think, it's tough to see it now, right? Because we're trying to project into the fall what hoops is going to look like. And we're just coming off the run that we had. So we're kind of thinking wait, you can't just take this piece away. It's hard to replace it because you're not seeing it. I do think we can be serviceable and make up some of the production. But obviously, from an asset management, you hate to see it. I guess so. That's kind of my big picture take, right? That's where I think I'm landing. I think, right? We'll see. I might feel different in 30 minutes. What I really hope doesn't happen, though, I'm getting James Harden, OKC, kind of a nominal amount of money that just was that line in the sand that aged like a thing of milk or something, right? It was like $8 million total over the life of the contract that sent him to Houston. And I know Brunson's no James Harden. It's not about player for player. It's just the concept. And I just hate the idea of a negligible difference in the grand scheme of things financially. Just that kind of thing seems to more often than not come back to haunt you. So does that, I don't know. Do you think that's too extreme? Is that
No. There are no two extreme takes at this point in the night, and with how weird all this stuff is, a frenemy of the show, Jeff Skin Wade, just tweeted he was responded to Nate Duncan, and he says, "What player coming off a rookie deal making $7 million in his first 4 years is going to take $5 million less a year just to play off ball instead of run the show?" That's a narrative talking point. Exactly. He might be right, but it's still annoying.
Yeah, look, the bad faith arguments are in abundance, especially with the bedrock of information being so, like you've said multiple times, kind of like yin to the yang. There's a lot of conflicting reports going on. So I can't wait for the 30 for 30 to come out, 10 years or whatever from now that says, here's what the hell happened, the Rick Brunson, agenda, or who knows what it is. But to make I'm a fan of everybody's work. I love, different perspectives. I think there's room for everybody. But I can't lie. I did go back and listen to Ben and Skin and just, I wanted to see what they said. And it's so obvious there's a lack of willingness to just say, look, this isn't good, right?
Yeah.
There's power in that. Nobody wants to feel crazy. Just acknowledge the situation. I've never shaken the definition of optimism being not that everything's good. It's acknowledging when things are bad and choosing to think positively anyway. I don't see the acknowledgement. And I think that's where everybody goes crazy. It's like, no, this was always the master plan. We always wanted to build the plane in the air. Like that kind of stuff just it tears your soul apart. So, look, I'm fan of Skin, but yeah, I've yet to hear
I
him
don't
say this
agree
is
with
an L.
that. That's damage control, and it's not his fault. It's like this is not like he was offered more money, and the Mavs have a dividing line. Like that's okay.
And look, bottom line, man, just happy for JB. Again, don't love how it's shaking out, but it's too. Feel like a bomb just went off and my ears are ringing and I'm choking on the dust cloud right now. So I'm just going to look back on 4 years and say this dude was a class act, total professional. The fact that it's kind of blindsiding us really is a testament to who he was, right? You just thought this made so much more sense for him based on everything you saw. And look, young guy. I mean, who of us, I'm in my mid-30s. I remember being 20-something thinking, I can knock down any obstacle in front of me. I'm sure that's part of what got him to where he is, right?
Right.
Whoever earlier said, maybe the Knicks are sitting on proprietary growth technology. So we can all sit here with our, armchair quarterback, like, I don't think you can be a lead dude. Hey, man, you got the bag. You got the opportunity. You earned the opportunity. You didn't really get anything. You earned everything that's, being presented. So it's nothing at him. I think you said it earlier, no hate to the player, just hate to the org, right? Because you don't just act in a vacuum. You act in relation to 29 other organizations. And when stuff goes like this, it's usually in the bottom half of those organizations, not the top half. I think that's just what's eating at me. But anyway, other than that, man, that's all I really have. Appreciate what you do. Thanks for putting this on.
Yep, I'm glad you tried to come up repeatedly. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
All right, coming up next, Seth returns for the third time in 24 hours. What's up?
I've kind of come 360 on this, and I apologize for this because it seems like you guys are sort of working through the stages and have kind of got to acceptance, and now I'm about to toss another bomb on it. Like, you can't make the Christian Wood trade if you don't have the Brunson deal done. I wasn't a fan of that trade, but that's okay. We're running it back and tooling up, and then you can't. Well, never mind. That's just that is left hand, right hand, not knowing what each other's doing, and that almost would be the most worrying thing to me.
Well, and here's a take, because we're 3 hours in, but maybe having a non-GM as GM and a president of basketball operations who has learned at the foot of someone who doesn't seem to be entirely within his bearings, and Donnie Nelson, and I'm talking about Michael Finley, isn't perhaps the best way to build a front office. Too mean?
Sure.
Too mean. It's fine.
No, I mean it's. I mean, again, this is like the secret that surprises nobody is this stuff has all been done for a while, more or less, and so not having your ducks in a row so that you'd make move one and then move two follows is. It's I don't know if I'd go all the way to negligent, but it's bad. It's bad. In a vacuum, again, letting Brunson get signed away for nothing at the price point. Okay. So I guess I've come full circle on this. Once you make the Wood deal, you've committed to going all the way to seventh gear if that's what's needed, and then it's kind of there's some blinking there. So yeah. That's what I got. Sorry, I just kind of put two and two together and got very annoyed by it.
Well, you and me both. Thanks, Seth. Talk soon.
Yeah.
Seth texted me an hour ago, and he's like, "Why are you still doing this?" Logan, what's up? Come out of the chat and hit the unmute.
How's it going, Kirk?
Man, what's up?
I mean, we've all been better. So, hey, can you fill me in on the Nate Duncan Twitter thing that happened
No,
that you
I
were
mean,
just
I was
talking
just
about?
reading. He was like Skin was responding to Nate saying, essentially, if he wants to run the show, then the money at a certain point stops being a factor. I tend to agree with the sentiment, but it doesn't make it any less frustrating.
Well, what did Nate Duncan tweet?
What did Nate Duncan tweet?
I'm pulling it up. So he says, to me, Jalen Brunson would have had more reps as well as much better coaching and spacing if he stayed with Dallas, with Randall and Barrett as two high usage lefties wanting to attack from the right side of the floor, plus below average spacing. He'd max his potential in Dallas.
Yes. And I mean, I wasn't even going to talk about that, but that's a whole other thing. And I did hear Nate Duncan say that they do like a mock off season, which if you haven't heard them, they're really fun. They like all take different teams, but he was saying that he was like, I don't think this is the best basketball decision. And I do think that that's spin. You know what I mean? I think Rick Brunson's camp, I think it's spin on both sides. Like, so Zach Lowe did a podcast today and he said he talked to 8 different execs. And they all told him if they were the Mavs, they would pay $5 extra million because of the roster situation and not being able to improve and replace them. And Zach Lowe likes the Mavs. Like you can always tell he's kind of like pro Mavs. And you can tell the way he was talking. He was like, and in a league that fetishizes money this much, fetishizes value, it tells you something that 8 execs said this. And as I'm listening to it, I'm getting so mad because I'm like, so that's 8 execs, Zach fucking Lowe. And Nate, like, it's just everyone who's smart thinks this is stupid on all sides, like the Knicks, the Mavericks, and it's just so frustrating that that's the case. And I have been joking about this for like a couple years now, but Mark Cuban either thinks he's on Shark Tank or he's watched too much Moneyball and he thinks he's Billy Bean or he's cheap. It's got to be one of those. None of them are the right way. None of them win in the NBA. Like, it is a talent acquisition. Oh, it's just I'm getting on late. I know y'all have kind of like gotten over, I think, the first freak out stuff as I was at work, but it's just very frustrating to me because you can't moneyball it. There's just, that doesn't exist. There is no, people keep saying, well, you add these numbers up and it's like we fill the production, and that's just not fucking basketball. It's just not. So there's my rant. I'd like to hear what you have to say back though.
I don't really have any counter. Like it's all like very frustrating because I understand why the Mavericks didn't give him a deal. I also understand why the Mavericks should have given him a deal. I don't know. It's just
Well, the thing is, if there's tax money at stake, I would rather just not add the 3-and-D wing that we were going to add. Like, I would still be pissed if we did that. I'd be like, really? We're going to save Mark Cuban money when we're like a contender now? But like, I just don't. I mean, I guess that's the argument, is Brunson worth that? But I mean, kind of, yeah, because I don't really trust anyone else to hold the ball except for Luka. So, I don't know. It's just frustrating. So frustrating. Well, my thing is that I think Luka is at the point, and the fact we made it to the Western Conference Finals, you can't step back and you can't explain to your fans that it's like, it's too late in the game, right?
Yep.
But I know I'm just regurgitating things y'all probably talked about, so you can let some other people get on. But
you're a good man. Thanks for hanging out. All right. I think we have one more guest, and then we're going to call it a night. Chris, welcome, Chris. How you doing? Hit that unmute button if you're still hanging out there.
Can you hear me, Kirk?
I can.
Okay. So first off, I want to say, please do not crucify me. I am a Knicks fan. Please do not kill me. I come here as a friendly.
Oh yeah, no, of course, no. We had Golden State Warriors fans trolling us during like the Western Conference Finals. This is boring. How you doing?
So, it's crazy as a Knicks fan going through this because this year was just shambles from the amount of the billion blown double-digit leads from half to Randall becoming a baby and the most hated person in New York in less time than A-Rod, which was impressive. To now, I mean, look, getting Jalen Brunson to help with RJ and Mitch, like, that's the other thing. Look, is RJ inefficient? Yes. Does his inefficiency have to do with the fact that Julius Randle basically stays near the paint half the time, or he's shooting a 3 and looking guys off? Yeah. I look at a guy like Jalen Brunson, and every time I look at Mavs fans and everything they talk about when it comes to him, it's like, okay, this is going to do a lot for RJ. It's going to open the floor for him. It's going to allow him to grow as a creator because he's going to have more space to operate. He's going to be able to get better looks at the rim because he's not going to have some non-entity person throwing him the ball. He's going to be able to cut more often with guys. The gravity towards Brunson is going to be better than the gravity it was when it comes to guys like Burks, who's not a point guard, when it came to Kemba, who was washed, and
Kemba, sadly washed.
It was so sad because when he had that week of just nailing shots and going 20-plus multiple games, it was like, oh my God, he might be back at least offensively, but it just fell apart. But, I didn't think we'd get here. On draft night, it felt like, yeah, it's a done deal. But I don't think you make that move to ship off Kemba without having the knowledge of, yeah, he's on his way. And this just kind of confirms it. And it's like, as a Knicks fan, I feel bad for Mavs fans in the way because it's like the whole KP stuff is over with, and that was a whole saga in and of itself. But it sucks to see that Luka is kind of on an island again. I know,
like Luka and the 44% usage rate next year.
I know. I don't like to say that because it's like I like Christian Wood as a player. I think if he is someone who has a better attitude and is more tuned into the game, he's a really good player, and he's someone I actually wanted the Knicks to get a couple of years ago. If they shipped off Randall, I would have been like, yeah, I would have absolutely swapped Christian Wood for Randall. But it's like, I don't know where you guys go in terms of building for Luka. I mean, there is one way if you tell the Knicks to unprotect the 23 first, but if you do that, that's damn near almost that's like putting the poison pill in your mouth but not swallowing it yet. So, it's like, for you guys, it would suck to see if Luka ever left. I don't think he will. I think Luka's the kind of guy who is loyal. I don't think Cuba's the kind of guy who will let him leave, but, for you guys right now, it's just a whirlwind and it sucks because
we're not as down bad as we act like, because it's like, to an extent, it's like the Knicks might be paying a lot of money for Robin.
And the thing is, we are, but the other thing is, a lot of it that a lot of Knicks fans have brought up is that's the kind of contract that if a star asks out, with the amount of draft picks we have, first rounder specifically, and all the young kids, that's the kind of contract that's swap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing where it's like, all right, here's the salary swap. This is to match up for a trade or whatever. And again, is there a guy who's going to ask out within the next 3 years? I have no idea. My most likely guess is Donovan. But is it going to happen? I mean, is Donovan really happy being in Salt Lake City and playing with a team that, just completely fell apart to the guy who didn't signing? But yeah, it's been a crazy whirlwind, and I don't even want to think about the fact of somehow if the Mavs make a last-ditch effort at Brunson and he somehow changes course and stays, I might actually be crying.
I don't think that happens.
No, listen. At this point, I have PTSD of 2019. Okay,
I feel you.
Listen, that entire from the summer of 2018, I remember Woj on ESPN with Sage Steele saying that if KD was to leave Golden State, the Knicks are one of the teams. And for months, it was he's going to the Knicks, going to the Knicks, going to the Knicks. I'm just like, all right, cool. And then on the day, he signs with the Nets. I hate everything. So I just, I'll believe it when I see it, but it feels as real as anything.
Well, thanks for hanging out, Chris, and thanks for listening to us. I appreciate your thoughts.
No problem. And listen, I got to say, the KP deal is done, but, if Luka...
It's not done. Well, you bastards, a pick next year.
Listen. You can use your picks. Just unprotect that pick. And then, listen, if Victor Wembanyama becomes a Knick, hey, listen, we could both share in the happiness.
That's right. Talk soon, man.
All right, man. Have a good one.
All right, we're going to see if Mr. Cash can come up here this time, and we're going to make it work this time. Chris, you there? All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I see Chris in the comments, and we're going to try one more time with feeling. Chris, how's that audio? Just not working. Ugh. All right, it's 11:15. I think my wife's going to divorce me again. Been divorced repeatedly. Don't want to have it happen one more time. Kyle Mann, get up here. J. Kyle Mann of The Ringer is literally joining a 3-hour long. He won't join my podcast when I ask him to, but he'll come into one of my spaces after 3 hours and talk trash to me. It's just cruel and unusual, the things that I have happening to me, where my friends troll me, my wife is mad at me. It's just it's the nature of things. Did I just call it a space? Man, that just shows you how sauced I am. All right, friends of the program, since no one else is waiting in the speaker, I appreciate everyone's 3 hours. You could have been watching a football game. You could have been, literally doing anything else. Those of you who are still listening towards the end of the podcast, I really don't why are you doing this to yourselves? But I'm grateful. Everybody be good. I'll probably be back Thursday night. We can bitch about free agency. Everyone be good. Love you. Go Mavs.